a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live on a Sunday. What are we in? February 16th, 2020. Happy to be here with you. I have not been live in a few days as I try and recuperate from Iowa and New Hampshire. But there's a lot going on in the news, and hopefully you're ready for a big show. As a reminder, we come live on Sundays when everybody else is resting because we need to raise the money for Status Coup. So if you're feeling super today, let us know in the super chat. I am also delighted to tell you we are at 1,297. 1,297 Status Coup members. Our goal, it's a big goal. Didn't make it in New Hampshire, but that's okay. Our goal is to hit 1,500 members by the end of the Nevada Caucus. For those of you that have been following, we will be on the ground in Nevada. I head there this week. Here is the map. You see Nevada is filled in over there. From there, it's some question marks. We gotta grow our membership in order to have funding to cover the states that come after that. If you see on that map, we're going to Nevada because boy, are we gonna need journalists on the ground to, observe and watch the fudgery that goes on there. If Iowa was a mess, Nevada, from what I'm hearing from sources on the ground there, is not looking so pretty if you want a free and fair process. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But we would like to be able to go to South Carolina after Nevada. But as of now, funding is an issue. I'm just going to keep it real. We have a lot of momentum. We just passed 73,000 subscribers, so thank you to everybody. We have grown, I believe, over 400 paid members since the beginning of since a few days before the Iowa caucus. So welcome to our new Status Coup members. But multiple cross-country trips, flights, hotels, rent-a-car, food, last-minute equipment, it all adds up. So if you are not a member, we hope you'll sign up today, statuscoup.com/join. Our goal is to go from Nevada to South Carolina, and then right after South Carolina, just a few days after South Carolina, is Super Tuesday. We think California is the state to be for Super Tuesday to cover. So we'll show you this map quite a lot today. Also want to remind you, we already got 538 people watching. Holy cow. If everybody could press that like button, makes a big difference. Got 540 people watching, 280 of you have pressed that like button. We need hundreds more. Press the like button. It's right under the live stream. It's that thumbs up button. The more people that press the thumbs up, the more people that will see this live stream. We'll get to text message later. Follow us at Status Coup. Jen, if you can hear me, make sure at Status Coup is retweeted from me. We're live on Twitter and Periscope right now. Follow us on Twitch. We are live there as well. Twitch.tv/Status Coup. And join our email list, statuscoup bloomberg.com. Enter your email there. If you have already put in your email, unfortunately, that's step one. Now, if you've already entered your email, we need all of you to check and make sure we're not going to your spam, because we've been finding our ways in a lot of spam recently. So make sure if you see us in your spam, make sure you mark us not spam. Thank you, Kelly Elaine, $20. A few more bucks for the truth. Couldn't appreciate it more. Kelly always supporting the coup. J0321, $14.99. Here's a little bit to keep you going from Jay and Celia. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the kind support. Let me see if I missed any others. Chris, $5. Let's get this going. Lawrence, $5 with the Bravo sticker. Thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate it. Mike, feeling super at $3. Thank you. So, let's get right to it. You know, I'm late today because there's just so much information that I need to load. There's so much information that I need to load. And by the way, sorry for the lighting. In addition to covering the campaign, I'm in the process of moving. So I'm not in what my permanent setup will be right now. So I will be in my permanent setup in a few weeks. So for now, you get a dimly lit Jordan, but hopefully that's better than nothing. And Jen's in the super chat, so say hi to Jen. So Bernie Sanders wins the Iowa caucus. He won. They could say whatever they want. They tried to rig it. He got the most votes on the first ballot. He got the most votes on the second ballot. Okay, Bernie wins. Then, after the media props up Pete Buttigieg by declaring him the winner of the Iowa caucus, even though the majority of the results were not in, even though he did not win the most votes, they gave him a 7 to 10 point bump in New Hampshire. Okay, we know this. So Bernie wins the New Hampshire primary. The narrative, because the corporate media exists not to give you the facts, it exists to try and produce an alternate reality that maintains the status quo. Thank you, Rochelle, $4.99. Bloomberg came out against Obamacare. Why aren't Joy Reid and Neera Tanden screaming about this? Because it's not really about issues for them. It's about identity politics and keeping the money flowing. And we're going to get to Neera Tanden in a little bit. Don't you worry. So, sorry. So, we have Bernie Sanders wins the Iowa caucus. We have Bernie Sanders wins the New Hampshire primary. You would think, guy's raising record amounts of money. He's got a youth movement. He's got the most diverse coalition. Maybe the media would give him his due. Maybe. Just maybe. Then, you looking at these polls? Are you looking at the polls that are coming out here? Nevada. Bernie, 7 points. 7 points. Lead over Biden. And by the way, caucuses are very, very difficult to poll. Hopefully the last poll that comes out before the Nevada primary doesn't get spiked like in Iowa because PD's campaign complains. Seth Peterson, $70 in the super chat. Thank you, Seth. Really appreciated Jen's reporting during the last few days, and also glad you're back, Jordan. Can't wait for in-the-field reporting. Yes, we want more of Jen. Jen's doing a great job, and we're going to have her doing a lot more videos because I'll tell you what, folks, not only is she great, but it's really nice for me to have a day or two to rest. It is really, it takes a toll. All of the driving, all of the events, all the hours, it takes a big toll from Iowa to New Hampshire. And I'm about to be on the road, if we get the funding, for 3 weeks to a month. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Dia. We just got a new member, so we are now at 1,298 Status Coup members. Ooh, who's going to be the lucky two to get us to 1,300? Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right, so we have Bernie is in the lead in Nevada by 7 points. I do think Bernie is in the lead, but it is a caucus, so it's difficult to poll caucuses. However, Bernie in the lead. Nevada also is pretty good state for Bernie, considering he is crushing all other candidates among Latinos. And Nevada, Jen, make sure I'm right on this, I believe Nevada is 25 to 30% Latinos. Big population. There you have Warren at 13%. We're going to get to Elizabeth Warren later because, honestly, You could call me a sexist if you want. It's time for her to drop out. And sorry, it's also time for Tulsi Gabbard to drop out. And sorry, oh, those are my two for right now. Elizabeth Warren, it's time to drop out. Tulsi Gabbard, sorry, like you, gotta drop out. This is not the time for a message. We need to coalesce around the progressive choice. I believe Tulsi Gabbard will do that sooner or later. Not so sure about Liz. Tom Steyer bought his way to 11% in Nevada, and Mayor CIA, who basically was propped up by CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, to get an additional 10 points in New Hampshire. He's down at 10% because Latinos and African Americans don't like him. Then you look at South Carolina, and thank you, Colin Tooley, for making these graphics. We have Biden still in the lead at 28%, but minus 9. He's lost 9 points among South Carolina voters. 60% of South Carolina is African American. Then we see Bernie Sanders at 20% plus 6. Hey, if I'm the Bernie Sanders campaign and you sign me up today that I will lose South Carolina by 8 points, I will take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. If Joe Biden cannot win South Carolina, he's probably going to lose Nevada. If he can't win South Carolina by double digits, that's it. It would be a victory if Bernie Sanders came within 8 points in South Carolina. I actually think he's going to do better than this poll, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Then we have Tom Steyer, who has spent more money in Nevada and South Carolina than any other campaigns, and you see it reflected in the polls. Tom Steyer at 14%, minus 5, and then Mayor CIA there at 8%. He's up plus 4 in South Carolina. Again, you get a bump when you're falsely declared the winner of the Iowa caucus, but he's still at 8%. And then Warren, minus 2. Then we go down to Texas. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Kyle. We are now at 1,299 Status Coup members. 2 members within 10 minutes. I love it. Who's going to be lucky 1,300? And for those of you that don't know, as a Status Coup member, you're not just supporting great independent media. You're also getting something out of this deal. We do a monthly video members call, which we're going to do by the end of this month. I don't know when we're going to do it because I'm going to be on the road for several weeks, but we're going to do it. So the monthly video call is a lot of fun. Ask people in the super chat. Jen and I with you. It's not through YouTube. It's through Zoom. We laugh, we cry, we scream. No, I'm kidding. But it's a lot of fun. You don't have to be on video. You can mute your video if you just want to listen. You get to ask questions. It's very casual. We share too much information and have a great time. So you get that as a Status Coup member. We are also pumping out behind-the-scenes videos from Iowa, from New Hampshire. All of that is up under our member section on our website, so definitely join statuscoup.com/join. And by the way, for those of you that live on Reddit, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on Tuesday night with Way of the Burn. I'm doing a AMA at 7 p.m. Eastern Tuesday night. So South Carolina, not looking great for Joe Biden. And if he doesn't lose, if he loses Nevada, and if he loses Nevada bad, those numbers are going to go down even further for Joe Biden in South Carolina, because South Carolina voters do pay attention to the states that come before. Then we have Texas. 6 months ago, would anybody here think Bernie Sanders has a shot in Texas? Here is a Texas Tribune poll. Bernie Sanders in the lead, yes, margin of error. He's up by 2 points. But the fact that Bernie Sanders is even competing in Texas shows you the stuff the corporate media keeps putting out there is BS. It's not an issue. Bernie Sanders does not inherently repel conservative voters. He doesn't inherently repel moderate voters. What Bernie Sanders does is he expands the electorate. Why do you think he did so well in, why do you think he's doing so well in Nevada? Because it has a big Latino population, and he is winning among Latinos. Texas, huge Latino population. He is doing very well among Latinos. So all of these polls are showing you, if the Democratic Party wants to beat Trump, there's one candidate who not only performed very well, even though the media keeps saying, and I'm going to show you a despicable lie Chuck Todd told today, in a little bit. The media keeps pretending that Bernie Sanders is not expanding the electorate, that he's not bringing out new voters. It's just a lie. He is. And you see it in the polls. Latinos, by and large, support Bernie Sanders in Nevada, in Texas, and California. Now we look at a national poll, Morning Consult. Bernie Sanders is up 10 points. 10 points over Joe Biden. And remember, just 2 or 3 months ago, this was reversed. Joe Biden was up 10 points. Then you have Mayor Billionaire, who I might go an hour just on Michael Bloomberg in a little bit. So stick with me. And by the way, we got 1,058 people watching. 553 of you have smashed that like button. So I need another 500 of you. Please, please, please do your civic duty today and press the like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the live stream. The more people that press that thumbs up button, the more people that will see the live stream. Makes a big, big difference. And by the way, it is so gratifying to see our numbers up, where our live numbers are up, our on-demand numbers are up, our membership numbers are up. Speaking of membership, welcome to the party, new member Kyle. New member Kyle makes $1,300. Kyle just got us to 1,300 members.
David.
No, just went up on my phone. Kyle.
Jen said it was David in the chat.
All right. Well, my phone says Kyle, so I'll take them either. Maybe there's another member, David, that just came through that is not showing up on my phone yet. So 1,300 members. That would leave us 200 members. 200 members away from 1,500. And I can tell you what, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong. If we get to 1,500 members by the end of Nevada, we're going to be in good shape to go cover South Carolina. Because you're talking from New York. We've already booked our flight to Nevada. It was very expensive, by the way, going to Iowa and Nevada. But from Nevada, we got to fly cross country to South Carolina. So we need funding. Then we would have to fly again cross country to California after South Carolina. So this all costs a heck of a lot of money. So keep it coming if you can. We really, really, really want to get to 1,500 by the time Nevada hits. So keep on signing up. We just got another one. Welcome, new member Jess.
Welcome, Jess.
Woohoo! Keep it coming, hot and heavy. And thank you, Alex, $10 in the super chat for your cameraman who was assaulted at the Mayo Pete rally. Why, thank you. And speaking of that, I was just on Graham Elwood's show to talk about that. So definitely, Jamal will be with me in Nevada. Hopefully, he and I are both treated a lot better. That was very, very shameful what went on there. So I was just showing you the national poll. Bloomberg at 18%, which is completely bought. Buttigieg and Klobuchar, despite the media, showering them with attention, showering them with free coverage. Klobuchar and Buttigieg were both on the Sunday shows this morning. This is how the media works. They're trying to juice up the polls for their preferred moderate to right-wing Democrats. That's why all of these shows interview Amy Klobuchar breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They interview Amy Klobuchar more than any candidate the last few weeks. Buttigieg, too. It ain't working. It's just not working. Look at their national numbers. Klobuchar, 5%. Warren, we're going to get to in a little bit. I want to zero in on the African-American vote here. Oh, welcome, new member. Holy cow, they're coming in hot and heavy now. Holy cow. Sorry, folks, that I keep interrupting, but I want to give shout-outs to these new members. Welcome, new member Jess. Welcome, new member Steven. Welcome, new member Ari. Welcome, new member. It just says Flippin' Waffles.
Flippin' waffles.
And
oh my
what?
God, I made Jordan waffles this morning.
And welcome, new member David. Holy cow. Jen, I'm not sure. I can't do math. If you could text me what number we're at now, because 4 or 5 just came in. So keep it coming. So look at those Joe Biden, my support among African Americans is my firewall. I hate that term in politics, but Joe Biden says, I have the most support among African Americans. By the way, it was mostly older African Americans, but I digress. Well, he's lost 25 points. 25 points among African Americans. That is toxic if you were Joe Biden's campaign. Bloomberg has bought his way, shockingly, to 22%. Mind you, this is without doing any interviews. This is without being in one debate. This is basically trying to hide. He does very, very little campaign events. And this is before the majority of the South Carolina voters who, Bloomberg skipping South Carolina. But this is before the majority of black voters really know anything about Michael Bloomberg's record. Sure, they might have heard about stop and frisk, but they don't know the details of every single thing because, by the way, it ain't just stop and frisk. So that number is going to go down, and it's going to go down quickly when he is forced to debate, when he is forced to do interviews, and it's just shameful. Honestly, what Michael Bloomberg is doing, to me, should be outlawed and illegal in a country. You should not be able to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on your own money to basically have a propaganda campaign to become competitive in a presidential race. It's disgusting. It should be outlawed. Sanders, +4 at 19% among African Americans. Warren, +1, 8%. And Buttigieg, getting all the way up there, +4 to 4%. 19% other or undecided. That's actually other/undecided. So there's a lot of African Americans open for business. A lot of them haven't decided yet. So to me, obviously Biden, total free fall. To me, the big opportunity here is Bernie. And if Warren, who I think should drop out, but putting that aside, if Warren does well in this Nevada debate, and if she does well in the Nevada caucus, she has room there to grow. But Bernie has the most room here. Bloomberg is like a hot air balloon. It's going to go up, but it's eventually going to pop because Michael Bloomberg's got equally, if not worse, record on black people than President Trump. And you might think that's a radical statement, but remember, President Trump had no political record before becoming president. Michael Bloomberg has more than 8 years. He's got 3 terms in New York City, and it was not good for black people. It was not good for Latinos, and it was not just stop and frisk. I also want to show you these numbers, and this is from a USA Today poll. And remember, folks, press that like button. We got 1,200 people watching. We need every single person. Press that like button. Holy cow, welcome new member, Michelle. So now we are at 1,306 Status Coup members. We've grown 9 since I've been live. Again, our goal is to hit that 1,500 member mark by the caucus, by the Nevada caucus. So what is today, the 16th? We got 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd. We got 6 days to get 196. Right now we need 196 members to hit that 1,500 mark. And when we hit that 1,500 mark, we will have enough funding, at least to go to South Carolina. After South Carolina, we got to grow still, but I think we're going to have enough to go all the way to cover Nevada, which we've already booked. Go cover South Carolina. After South Carolina, go cover Super Tuesday in California. And then beyond that, there's a whole lot of campaign we want to cover, but we do not have the funding of other outlets. So thank you for helping us grow this funding. Let's keep getting those signups. Statuscoup.com/join. You could join for as low as $5 a month. Welcome new member. Just got another one. Jesse. So 1,307 Status Coup members. So I want to tell you these numbers because this is where it's at. And to me, this is why Hillary Clinton, this was the real reason she lost. They could say whatever they want about why she lost, but this is the real reason. So, welcome. Thank you, Mr. Methuselah, $25. Great work, team, and I love your live coverage. Thank you. Lotta, 25 sec. Swedish support here. Great job, guys. Thank you. Love my friends in Sweden. Love your chocolate, too. Ryan Corinth, $9.99. It's so amazing watching the show grow. You did great reporting in Iowa, and I am proud to be part of it. Bloomberg would be the death of the Democratic Party. Progressives would leave in droves. Thank you, and you just wait. I'm just getting started on Mr. Bloomberg. So, shares your values. This is USA Today. Sanders, 64%. Warren, 55%. Biden, 53%. Buttigieg, 50%. Bloomberg, 46%. Hillary Clinton, in addition to NAFTA, which was a disaster, in addition to her pushing TPP, she did not rank high in terms of favorability. She did not rank high in terms of share your values. She did not rank highly as far as trust, character, those kinds of things. Now we go to character. This is from USA Today. 40% have a high feeling on Bernie Sanders' character. 31% Biden, 30% Warren, 30% Buttigieg, 29% Bloomberg. So Bernie has all. Right now the polling is on Bernie's side, and I don't want to be. I want to be consistent here. And by the way, we just got 2 new members. Holy cow, I can't even keep up here. Welcome, new member Anna. Welcome, new member Zezeri. I don't know what your first name is, but the username says Zezeri. We are now at 1,308. Holy cow. Can we get to 1,320 by the time I end this topic? Let's keep it going. Statuscoup.com/join. So I want to be consistent, because when Bernie was down in the polls, I said I take everything with a grain of salt, all of these polls. I still take a lot of these polls with a grain of salt. But at least, when you look in the methodology, of these polls, and Status Coup has been sounding the alarm on this for 6 months to a year, you're starting to see the pollsters start to more evenly poll younger voters versus older voters. The reason Joe Biden was running away from this thing, according to the polls 6 months ago, all along, was they were barely polling people under the age of 50, particularly Monmouth University's polls, Quinnipiac, and a lot of these, polls were oversampling older voters and undersampling younger voters. So now, as you actually see turnout, as you see in Iowa, contrary to what Chuck Todd was lying about today, which I'm about to show you, more people aged 17 to 29 came out in Iowa than they did in 2008 for President Obama, or candidate Obama at that time. That's a youth increase. New Hampshire, it was not the same. There's plenty of reasons for that, but at least in Iowa, you had a big uptick in young voters. In New Hampshire, you had an uptick in total turnout. You had more voters this time around than you had in 2016. So the turnout numbers, particularly among young people in Iowa and overall voters, is very, very good. So, but what I'm looking at the most is not just the polls, but you could tell a lot from what other campaigns are doing. You could tell from what they're doing as far as what their internal polls. Because you have the public polling, which goes out, but you also have campaigns have their own internal pollsters that they don't release the information, unless it's very good for them, that tell them a different story. So we're going to get to what I think is actually going on here. But before we do that, I want to show you, I sent this to Jen. I mean, at some point, you really have to question, is it just that these multimillionaire anchors are morons? Or are they just intentionally lying? So let's look at Chuck Todd this morning on Meet the Press.
I mean, it's a mess.
Grab the popcorn. I think the biggest challenge right now is with Bernie Sanders. I think the question is that he will grow that electoral base that the Democrats desperately need in order to win. I think he'll bring in the young people.
But did he? He hasn't yet.
But no, he has.
In this so far, I mean, youth turnout went down, not up.
No, but you actually saw in Iowa, you actually saw a constituency of the Latino vote, and you actually saw a constituency of young African American votes actually outperform. That is where the new base is coming from. The biggest challenge right now is with Bernie Sanders. I think the question is that he will grow that electoral base that the Democrats desperately need.
Hold on one second.
To win. I think he'll bring in the young people.
But did he? He hasn't yet.
But no, he.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And kudos to that guest. I think her name is Maria Teresa Kumar. So Chuck Todd, I don't know how much he makes. I'm pretty sure he makes at least $5-6 million a year to do propaganda for NBC and MSNBC. And by the way, another new member. Holy cow, keep it coming. Welcome, new member David. Welcome, new member Thomas.
Welcome.
That's my favorite member, Anat, behind me. So we are now at 1,310 Status Coup members, I believe. Keep it coming, statuscoup.com/join. Let's blow through our goal. We want to get to 1,500 by Nevada. Maybe we could do even better than that by the rate we're going today. Statuscoup.com/join. Keep signing up. Keep signing up. So Chuck Todd, who is paid millions of dollars a year, you would think as part of that millions of dollars of a year, has to have his facts right, has to actually study politics, has to do some research. So Chuck Todd says, well, Bernie's not bringing out the youth. Well, that's just a lie. It's just not true. Bernie Sanders brought out 24% of voters in Iowa were age 17 to 29. That is, I guess some are Gen Z and some are millennials. 17 to 29, 24% of Iowa caucus voters were 17 to 29. They overwhelmingly supported Bernie Sanders. Compared to, in 2008, when Barack Obama was running, it was 22% of the electorate was age 17 to 29. You might think, oh, an increase of two points, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal, and I'll tell you why. And this is the stuff the corporate media will never actually provide you. It's called context. And by the way, sorry to keep interrupting, but these are good interruptions. Welcome, new member Stacy. Holy cow. Love it. Jen, I'm losing touch here. If you could let me know what our number's at. By the way, we got 1,400 people watching. 967 of you have pressed that like button. Keep it coming. So Bernie Sanders brought out 24% of the electorate in Iowa was 17 to 29. Compared to 2008, 22% of the electorate was age 17 to 29. Guess what? In 2008, there was advantages in terms of more young people coming out that did not exist this time around. What were those advantages? In 2008, the Iowa caucus was held in the beginning of January. College students were home for their winter break. It was right in the I think it was January 3rd. I'm pretty sure the Iowa caucus was January 3rd in 2008. So you had college students home. By the way, so this time around, college students were back in college. So 22% in 2008, that was partly, yes, more young people came out because of the friggin', just quicksand that George W. Bush left this country in. But they were home. They could vote. They weren't back at college yet. Secondly, this time around, in 2020, the Iowa caucus was held the day after the Super Bowl, and college students were away. So there were reasons this time around that number should not have surpassed 2008. So it surpassed 2008 without the built-in advantage of young college students from Iowa being home. Without this, again, the Super Bowl was held the day before. You might have some people that, not feeling so great the next day after, hanging out, drinking a couple at Super Bowl parties, whatever. So Bernie Sanders brought out more youth voters, yet Chuck Todd just lies to the American people. It's unbelievable. But that's not the only lie that Chuck Todd told today. That's not the only lie. And welcome, we just got another member, Sheldon. Holy cow. Holy cow, we are hot and heavy here. 1,312 Status Coup members. And by the way, we got a brand new promo video to show you. So stay with us. We're going to show you our brand new promo video in a little bit. So here's the second lie Chuck Todd told today. Here we go.
This won't win in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Let's back up a little bit.
Backdated download time. Bernie Sanders may have eked out the most votes in Iowa and New Hampshire. But if you look at the numbers more closely, it shows a candidate hitting a ceiling for now, rather than a glide path to the nomination. In both states, Sanders garnered almost the same percentage of the vote. Check this out, 26.5 and 25.6% respectively, compared with Buttigieg earning similar amounts as well. Now, Sanders can blame the large field of candidates, but Donald Trump got 35% in New Hampshire in 2016 in a similarly crowded field. Sanders often makes the case for enthusiasm. That is, people are more fired up, and he's better able to bring new voters into the fold as a result. Well, if you look at the combined percentages among the centrist candidates, they do much better than the progressives, earning 51% of the vote in Iowa and 52% in New Hampshire. Then there's turnout. Tuesday's New Hampshire primary broke the record set in 2008 with an 18% increase in overall turnout compared with 4 years ago, but a decline in the groups that tend to support Sanders. The amount of 18 to 29-year-old voters was down 5% on Tuesday night compared to when Sanders swept the Granite State in 2016. And the amount of very liberal voters was down the same amount compared to 2016 as well. Those kinds of numbers do not favor the Sanders campaign, and actually it could just get tougher. Iowa and New Hampshire were near perfect places for Sanders to flex his progressive muscle. Both were states he'd organized in before, one being next door to his home of Vermont. But there are very few other contests with as friendly of electorates to Sanders as those first two states of Iowa and New Hampshire.
Oh, Chuck, what are we going to do with you, Chuck? So, first of all, and wow, I mean, I can't even keep up. So many new members. Welcome, new member Mary. Welcome, new member Vincent. Welcome, new member David. I think we've gotten like 4 or 5 Davids in the last 10 minutes, so love the David trio quadruples we got here. We are now at 1,316. 1,316 status coup members. Can we get to 1,330? Let's set some benchmarks here. Can we get to 1,330 in the next 20 minutes? I think we can. So, statuscoup.com/join. So, I love how Chuck Todd and these corporate media people, the only thing they could do, because Bernie Sanders winning, they have to have a narrative for why Bernie Sanders winning is actually losing, right? So I just showed you that he lied about the youth turnout. It was down in New Hampshire. There could be a lot of reasons for why it was down in New Hampshire, but it was up significantly in Iowa. Overall turnout, by the way, in New Hampshire was up significantly. And thank you for the super chats. Lylan Blake, 1999, really appreciate it. Let me get some others in here. Sorry if I'm missing any. Thank you. Dia Michelle, $5. Thanks for all you do. Keep up the good work, exposing the false narratives of the establishment. We're going to keep doing it as long as you support us. Thank you so much. Do we get we just got another new member, Adrielle. Woohoo! Keep it coming, baby. Woo! Statuscoup.com/join. We're on fire here. So, the corporate media, what can they do? If Bernie's winning, they have to come up with a reason he's losing. So they're doing this creative thing where they say, well, Bernie and Warren, their support equals whatever it was in that segment. Let's say 50%. Excuse me, let's say 46%. I'm making it up. I don't remember what it was in that. But if you group Biden, Klobuchar, and Buttigieg together, it's greater. The support for them is greater than the support for Bernie and Warren. Okay, let's explain why this is total bullshit. And by the way, demonetized. Let us go in the swear jar. You have to just call it bullshit. But now we're demonetized, so keep signing up, keep leaving super chats. So, first of all, it doesn't matter what the total percentage of voters for the losing candidates are compared to the winning candidate. It really doesn't matter. So, yeah, sure, you could do creative math and say, well, Biden, Klobuchar, and Buttigieg, their total is greater than Bernie and Warren, but that's not how elections work. Secondly, if you actually want to be fair, which they don't, you would group in Tulsi Gabbard's percentage with Bernie and Warren. You would group in Andrew Yang's percentage, even though it wasn't much, with Bernie and Warren. So you would group in Tom Steyer's percentage, which is closer to Bernie and Warren. So they don't want to be fair. Secondly, Chuck Todd and these other corporate hacks that are trying to make it seem, well, there's greater moderate support than there is progressive support. they just assume that all of Amy Klobuchar's voters, all of Joe Biden's voters, all of Pete Buttigieg's voters are moderates. Well, all you have to do is just look at second choices for the polls. Biden supporters, their top second choice is Bernie Sanders. 28% of Biden supporters, their second choice, Bernie Sanders. Obviously lesser when you go to Buttigieg, but 17% of Buttigieg supporters, second choice, Bernie or Warren. They don't have, Morning Consult doesn't have the numbers for Klobuchar. But as you can see, Elizabeth Warren, second choice. Where's Warren? Warren, Bernie Sanders, 35% of her supporters have Bernie Sanders as their second choice. So in Chuck Todd's world, you just add up Biden, Klobuchar, and Buttigieg, and that equals greater support for the moderates than Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren has. But if you have no Joe Biden, by the numbers, his voters, a lot of them are going to Bernie Sanders. Klobuchar, probably not. Buttigieg, a lot of his voters going to Bernie or Warren. So it's just intellectually dishonest what they're trying to do. They're trying to do this voodoo math to try and make it seem, well, there's more moderate support. Well, by the way, since I was on the ground in New Hampshire and Chuck Todd was not, these people make multi-millions of dollars a year. I think he makes $4 or $5 million a year to do this kind of propaganda. I make, I don't know, I can't do fractions, maybe 0.01% of that. I was on the ground, thanks to you. I could tell you a lot of Pete Buttigieg supporters, like Bernie Sanders, they voted for Pete Buttigieg because they were told he won the Iowa caucus. That's what led them to actually go to his events. I spoke with a lot of his supporters online outside of his event, the one where they harassed my cameraman, where they harassed me, where they ripped my cameraman's credential off. We're still waiting for a response from his campaign. A week and a half after that, they have not responded to us to apologize for, frankly, assaulting my cameraman, who, by the way, happened to be the only black dude in the entire gym that they ripped his name tag off, which was his credential. So why this is important, what they're trying to do is brainwash you. What they're trying to do is make it seem, don't believe your lying eyes. There isn't a progressive surge going on. The mood of the country is not moving left. The mood of the country is center right or center left. No, it's not. The truth is, if Joe Biden is not in this race, a lot of his voters are going to Bernie. The truth is, if Pete is not in this race, a lot of his voters are going to Bernie. Amy, probably not, because she's basically a Republican. But no, you can't just add up the losing candidates' percentages and then say, oh, there's more moderate support. There's more moderate support. Oh, we're getting more members here. Holy cow. Welcome new member Tim. Welcome new member Thomas. Welcome new member Tina. Holy cow. We are now at 1,319 members. Holy cow, we've grown 22 members since I've been live, and we haven't even gotten to Bloomberg yet. Holy cow. And you know what? As I end this topic, I'm going to air our new promo video, and then we're going to get into some other things. The last thing I'll say about this, when Chuck Todd and the corporate media, when they try and put out this nonsense that Bernie Sanders, he might be winning, but his margin of victory is like 20% less than 2016. They're either fucking morons or the worst propagandists you could find. Bernie Sanders was facing one candidate in 2016, a highly mistrusted candidate. He is facing, if you add every single person that was on that ballot, he faced 11 in New Hampshire. I would say, arguably, it's a greater accomplishment to defeat 11 candidates, including one that is the last vice president of the United States, several that are United States senators. You have a popular entrepreneur, Andrew Yang, who dropped out. By the way, I don't care if the Yang gang is mad. He should endorse Bernie. That was a punk move. I don't know what he's waiting for. Bernie is closest to Yang. It's just a punk move. He should endorse. I'm not saying Bernie's entitled to his endorsement, but if you really want progressive change, Bernie's closest to you. He just is. But obviously, Bernie Sanders was not going to win by 20 points against 11 candidates. By the way, Bernie Sanders would have won most likely by 5 to 6 points if CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post didn't recklessly. We're living in such a fast-moving news cycle between Trump and everything he does that's crazy a day, between Attorney General William Barr, all of this crazy, crazy things going on with Trump, all of the crazy, crazy things going on in the primary, 11 candidates. We forget how unprecedented and scandalous and journalistically shameful it is that CNN allowed Pete Buttigieg to set a narrative that he won the Iowa caucus when there were no results out. They then declared him the winner of the Iowa caucus for 5 days, when there were still over a quarter of the results not out. And even with the results coming out, there were error after error after error after error. CNN then did a national town hall with him where a lot of New Hampshire voters who did not have their mind made up were watching, and they literally, of course this was coordinated, the Iowa State Democratic Party and CNN coordinated where the Iowa State Democratic Party would release its final results 5 minutes before the CNN town hall with Pete Buttigieg, and then voila, Chris Cuomo starts the town hall saying, "Hey Pete, how do you feel about winning the Iowa caucus?" This is why Pete Buttigieg got as high as he got in New Hampshire. If you look at the polls, a large percentage of Pete Buttigieg supporters that voted for him in New Hampshire voted for him because saying they decided in the final days before the New Hampshire primary. You don't think it makes a difference when the newspapers they're reading, when the media outlets they're reading, when the media outlets they're watching are declaring him the winner of the Iowa caucus? It gives them permission to say, "Oh, I kind of like this guy from South Bend. He sounds nice. He sounds positive. I like that unity message. And he actually won the Iowa caucus. I'm going to go to his event." And then they go to his event, they listen to a lot of hot air with no substance, and a lot of those people voted for him. So obviously this is my opinion, but Bernie Sanders probably would have won by 4 or 5 points without the media falsely pushing this propaganda that Pete Buttigieg won the Iowa caucus. Wow, we just got another new member. Holy cow, I can't even believe it now. Welcome, new member. Let me make sure I have it right. Alexander. Welcome, new member Alexander. We are now at 1,320. As I air this promo video, because after this promo video, we got to get to Joe Biden. Holy cow, say it ain't so, Joe. As I air this promo video, remember, we are not shamelessly hawking for you to sign up so that we could become multimillionaires. All of this funding is to cover an incredibly expensive campaign. We don't have any money from bankers. We have no money from the fossil fuckers. We have no money from the big real estate, big pharma, Silicon Valley. No plutocrats funding the Democratic Party. No plutocrats funding the Republican Party. We are funded by you. And it's not just we need funding to cover the campaign, of course, but we also want to hire another reporter. We also need to hire additional marketing help, social media help, website help. There's a lot of things we need help with. We just need the money to do it. Here is our latest promo video, and then we're going to get to Joe Biden and billionaire Mike.
This won't win in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Let's listen back up a little bit. They keep calling him a socialist. Let's talk about party affiliation here really quick before I cap off here.
Preach.
Mike Bloomberg was a Republican mayor who supported George Bush, spoke at the RNC, was one of their keynote speakers, supported the war. Now he's a Democrat running for president.
Because he can beat Trump. So basically, you'd rather have Trump not rather, but you deal with Trump for another 4 years rather than a leftist candidate. Yes. Yeah, I would.
But I heard about that. I'm aware of that, but...
Because you mentioned trust, so he's kind of made up some things. He said he participated in civil rights sit-ins, that he was an active participant, but journalists have shown that wasn't true.
Maybe he learned enough from his mistake in the past.
who's got less black support at this point than Donald Trump had in 2016. What does that say to you?
That black people are expendable. And this is something I've been saying about the Democratic Party for a very long time. They call black women the firewall, or black women the backbone, then black people are a firewall. But when it really comes to making sure the requisite investments are there, making sure that you stand up and stand firm for the African American community, other people of color, they're not there.
Better to have Trump than Bernie. That's exactly what she said. She didn't say it in those words, but that's what Biden said when he said he didn't know if he could commit to endorsing Bernie. And on and on and on. And that's why another whole segment of the Democratic Party hack establishment is backing Bloomberg.
But what have you actually accomplished?
Right. And compare that to Bernie, who has accomplished so much, has always been on the right side of history. You got this guy, Pete, who has a paper-thin record, like you just said. And, I wish the media would hold him accountable, but they won't because he's their chosen one. If it's not Buttigieg, it's going to be Bloomberg. They're picking someone that aligns with their interests and their values, and anyone but Bernie is in full effect.
You got to support our independent media.
How much can people join for?
$5, as low as $5 a month, all right? $5 a month, people, all right? Please make it happen, all right? statuscoup.com/join. Do it now. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it now.
I didn't even pay that. I didn't even pay that guy at the end. I didn't even pay that guy at the end. He just said it on his own. Thank you for everybody that's been providing the funding we need. This is how we grow to cover the campaign, but much more importantly, this is how we grow for the long haul. Because, by the way, if somebody like Bernie Sanders were to win the nomination, if somebody like Bernie Sanders were to win the presidency, that's just the first battle. Then you have a war to actually get these things done. And I and Jen and Status Coup want to be in the front lines to cover that if Bernie Sanders were to actually become the president. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. It makes a huge, huge difference to have consistent funding. And by the way, for example, that gentleman at the end of the promo video who was telling you, support us, statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. Hold on, Jen's texting me something. That gentleman, all the comments were like, Jordan, you need to hire him. You need to hire him. You need to hire him. Whether I need to hire him or not, of course, I think he sounded great. I'd love to know his experience. We'd love to hire more people, but I can't print money. I can't print money for war. I can't print money for tax cuts for the rich. I am not the federal government, so I can't print money. We need the funding to do it, and we're doing it the right way. We're not taking money from the usual suspects, so that's why we're trying to grow the grassroots way through you. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. So, Joe Biden, who apparently can't even look at a map because his campaign, who just bolted out of New Hampshire before the results were out, it's like leaving a wedding before dessert. He just left the state without any results. Joe Biden skipped Nevada and just went straight down to South Carolina. His campaign has literally been running on empty for months. Colin Tooley, our brilliant editor, does great graphics for us. I mean, we've had this for 6 months. We might need to actually change that graphic and show, leaks, the Titanic starting to sink, and after the iceberg has been hit. But Joe Biden, after coming in an embarrassing 5th place in New Hampshire, what did he do? He goes down to South Carolina, again, tries to pretend that he's been a champion for African Americans forever and ever, which is not true. Between the crime bill, between a lot of other things he's done, his policies have wreaked havoc on poor and black and brown communities, from the crime bill, from repealing Glass-Steagall, to the bankruptcy bill, to, you go down the list, bankruptcy bill, repealing Glass-Steagall, the crime bill. I mean, he pushed NAFTA, which has also done a number on poor people, minority communities in the Midwest and elsewhere. So Joe Biden, not a friend of black people, but he has benefited by being Obama's vice president. And by the way, anyone that understands politics, Obama didn't pick Joe Biden because he thought he was such an upstanding guy. He picked him because he needed an old white guy to make other white people feel comfortable voting for a black guy whose middle name was Hussein. Let's just be real about it. That's what happened. So Joe Biden, after coming in a distant fourth in Iowa, after coming in fifth in New Hampshire, where does he go? He doesn't go to campaign like crazy in South Carolina. I think he did one or two events. He doesn't go to try and get more African-American groups to support him, more African-American leaders to endorse him. He doesn't go to try and get more unions to endorse him. Where does he go? He goes to his home base. Joe Biden, after getting clobbered, runs to his Wall Street sugar daddies. Joe Biden to host more than 250 donors from Wall Street, big business, at a New York City fundraiser. Here's the guest list. I mean, you got to give it for him. He has no shame. This already happened, so this was written before the event. Biden's campaign expected to raise $1 million from these events. The list shows names such as former Morgan Stanley CEO John Mack, who, by the way, was a big culprit in tanking the global economy in 2007 and 8. Centerview Partners Alan Hartman, Citigroup executive Ray McGuire, Blackstone Chief Operating Officer Jonathan Cray. Blackstone, of course, has invested the most of any company in fossil fuels. They claim that they're going to be changing that, but as of right now, they are invested the most in the projects destroying our planet. Attendees also include Goldman Sachs. You also have another public affairs person from Blackstone. You have Kamala Harris's former national finance chair who's now backing Biden, and another person from Centerbridge Partners, which is a big sleazy Wall Street firm. So what does that tell you? Joe Biden, he doesn't actually have a message. His campaign basically said, let's just run Hillary Clinton's campaign, meaning Trump is the Antichrist, Trump, unprecedented threat, Trump is bad, Trump's the Antichrist, vote for us. And their calculation was probably, well, we have the whole middle-class Joe thing going. It's, of course, not based on anything real. It's not based on facts, but we have the narrative. The media has helped us push that narrative. And, oh, by the way, Joe Biden publicly said he has a penis. So he's not going to have to deal with sexism or any of that stuff that Hillary had to deal with. So he never, the arrogance and the incompetence of Joe Biden's campaign, they thought, well, we don't really have to have a message. We don't have to actually have a bold vision or an idea. We could just put up some ads with Biden, with Barack Obama. We could post on Twitter BFF bracelets on Best Friends Forever days. You remember that? It was like BFF Day, and Biden tweeted 2 bracelets, Barack and Joe, best friends. This is what Joe Biden has been running on. It's been, honestly, I didn't think it was even possible to run a worse campaign than Hillary Clinton. But this is a worse campaign than Hillary Clinton ran. And that's saying a lot. So he's getting destroyed in Iowa, which should have been a very favorable state for him. He got destroyed in New Hampshire. He doesn't even go next to Nevada. He just goes to South Carolina, which I don't understand that. Yes, you're strongest in South Carolina, but at this point, if you don't come in a very close second in Nevada, you're done. You can't lose 4th place, 5th place, and in Nevada 3rd place, and then expect to go into South Carolina and just throw up your hands and say, Obama, and think you're going to win. So Biden runs to Wall Street. Why are we not surprised? Biden is also, and obviously Joe Biden is not the one writing his campaign emails, but this email last night for the Biden campaign was really something. I tweeted this out. Subject line, out of options. Well, that's a pick-me-up. That makes me want to give you money. Jordan, we're running out of options. Since we've been emailing you all week, yes, you have, about the importance of tonight's deadline, the end of the, what's the deadline? So, I don't remember what the deadline is. Since we've been emailing you all week about the importance of tonight's deadline, we were certain we'd be on track to hit our goal. But sadly, we were wrong. With 3 hours to go, we're still 2,000 donations short. Reminder, our fundraising numbers go public at the end of every month. So if we fall short, everyone will know. We can't risk that this month. I don't know. Jen, you're an expert on email marketing. This is a kind of desperate sounding subject line, and it's a desperate sounding email to me. It's like, hey, please give me $5. We don't want the whole world. We don't want to be embarrassed. Not good for Joe. And the fact is, if you're going to Wall Street and you are bending the knee, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, if you are going to Wall Street and you are bending the knee to Wall Street and saying, please, please help me out of this ditch. I came in 4th place in Iowa. I just came in 5th place. And by the way, who are these investors that are still giving money to Joe Biden? Not so smart. Anyway, my point is, he's in trouble. He's in trouble because I got news for you. The Nevada Caucus, yes, you're going to have a lot of Latinos coming out. Of course, you have the Culinary Union, and they've been putting out this nonsense about Bernie's coming and he's taking your health care away. I don't really think the totality of the Culinary Union's members buy this. And by the way, Joe Biden was praying that the Culinary Union, after attacking Bernie Sanders, would endorse him. Even they're not touching Joe Biden. They came out and they said, we're not endorsing anyone, but Bernie's bad. So they don't want to put their cards in for Joe Biden because he's tanking. By the way, we just got 2 new members. Holy cow, we keep on signing up. Welcome new member Kenneth. Welcome new member Ashton. I think that makes 1,322 status Coup members. Let's get to 1,330. I did finish my iced coffee, but let's keep going. I was going to say by the time I finish my iced coffee, but 1,322. And by the way, if you came to this late, if we get to 1,500 members, our goal was by the time the caucus happens in Nevada, we are booked for the Nevada caucus. We're going there this week. But I said if we get to 1,500 by the time the Nevada caucus, we'll be in good shape to then travel to South Carolina. Our goal is to be able to then, after South Carolina, go cross-country again to California for Super Tuesday. But we just need more funding to do all this. If we get to 1,500, we are definitely going to take the question mark off of South Carolina. We could definitely fund South Carolina if we hit 1,500 members. So keep signing up. It costs as little. I mean, we have different plans. You could sign up at $5 a month. You could sign up at $10 a month. You could sign up at $20 a month. Or if you don't want to do monthly, you could sign up at $179 annually. We love you. All of our members. Keep it coming. This is how you create a progressive, independent media. Yes, I'll say it. Revolution. We need to create a status coup in this country. You guys are helping us do it. We're now at 1,322 members. So what's incredible to me, Joe Biden, his campaign, their brilliant idea is not to change the message. It's not to put out, good things he has done as a senator. It's not to present a bold new policy to excite people. It's to run to Wall Street. You can't make this stuff up. And by the way, he's running to Wall Street. Again, sorry if you already saw this poll. He's running to Wall Street when his numbers among African American voters are just bleeding. Down 25 points among African American voters in the most recent Quinnipiac poll. This was what they called Joe Biden's quote unquote firewall, which is a dumb word. It doesn't hold up. But this is his firewall, and it's cracking. It's cracking. And by the way, the media says, oh no, South Carolina voters don't take their cues from Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada. Well, then why is he down 25 points? Granted, this is national, but he's down a lot. But Joe Biden was not the only one. Joe Biden was not the only one to run to his Wall Street sugar daddies and sugar mamas. Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg, after falsely being declared the winner of the Iowa caucus. By the way, for those of you that don't know, Graham Elwood was nice enough to have me on. So I was just on Graham's show. Go check out that video. Support his channel. Talking about what happened with Jamal and I, my cameraman and I, as we were harassed. And frankly, Jamal was assaulted at his event. So go check out that interview. Of all, very little media attention on the fact that we were harassed by the Buttigieg campaign. Jamal inappropriately had a campaign staffer rip his media credential off his jacket without even saying anything to him. If you haven't seen that video yet, check it out on our channel. But Pete Buttigieg's campaign still has not responded to us. All I said, your campaign owes my cameraman an apology. Still hasn't responded. Tells you how they feel about journalists and, frankly, African American. So, Pete Buttigieg, after falsely being declared the winner of the Iowa caucus, after getting a 7-10 bump in New Hampshire because of that, well, Pete has to go run to his Wall Street sugar daddies. Dash for cash, the New York Times calls it. 10 fundraisers in 2 weeks. In the compressed and crucial weeks between the New Hampshire primary and Super Tuesday, Pete Buttigieg is moving aggressively to replenish his campaign coffers with an ambitious schedule of 10 fundraisers held across 6 states in a 14-day period. The money chase for Buttigieg began in Indianapolis Thursday at the 16,000 square foot home of a supporter as donors noshed on egg salad and cucumber sandwiches. What a thrill to be back, he said in Indiana. He will soon visit Seattle, Salt Lake City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Miami, and Palm Beach, with most of the events built around states that will vote in early March. In addition to Buttigieg himself, this is the part that's like blatantly corrupt. In addition to Buttigieg himself, his national policy director, Sonal Shah, a veteran of the Obama administration and Goldman Sachs, is hitting the road to headline events in Virginia, Maryland, and Ohio, where donors are asked for up to $2,800 to become a, quote, champion and join in a, quote, policy conversation. Some tickets can be had for as little as $54. Oh, thank you for, allowing the proletariat in too. And Buttigieg's husband, Cheston, is featured at another 5 events, with 2 stops in Wisconsin, 2 in Denver, and 1 in Phoenix. So what's incredible to me about this, by the way, first of all, it shows, a lot of candidates throw around the term movement. This is a movement. We hear that from a lot of candidates. But if Pete Buttigieg was actually a movement, and keep those super chats coming. We really appreciate our super chats too. And if you haven't pressed the like button, we got 1,600 people watching. 1,300 of you have pressed the like button. So we need another 300 to press that like button. And welcome. We just got another new member. Welcome, James. Love it, love it, love it. Keep signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. Jen, if you don't mind, hit me with the current member number. And by the way, Jen has to go to a family thing. So whoever is doing our live chat, keep dropping the join link in there. So let's get something straight. Pete Buttigieg, if Pete Buttigieg was a movement, don't you think performing well in Iowa? Don't you think performing well in New Hampshire, even though the media lifted him to that performance? Shouldn't he have a tsunami of small dollar donations coming in if he's expanding his support? Shouldn't he have a tsunami of small dollar donations coming in where Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, in February has been raising over $1 million a day? No, Pete Buttigieg is running to Wall Street. Why is that? Interesting. Not only is Pete Buttigieg, and when I say Wall Street, obviously he's going all over the country, but he's going to mostly financial people's homes. He's going to mostly executives in the financial industry, executives in the healthcare industry, executives in the tech and Silicon Valley industry. So that in itself is corrupt. It's legalized bribery, as we always say. But beyond Buttigieg going, can you imagine for a second if, I don't know, Warren Gunnels If you don't know who Warren Gunnels is, he's Senator Sanders' top policy advisor. He's been with him for 20 years. Very active on Twitter. Can you imagine if Warren Gunnels was going to like mansions in Silicon Valley or DC or anywhere for quote unquote policy conversations with top donors? Yeah, really what that is, hey, as I'm talking about Pete Buttigieg's top policy advisor that they're going around as the headliner for fundraisers at a tune of $2,800 a ticket. Hey, here's the empty pad. Write down what you want. I'll give it to Pete. This is what's going on. Of course, it's not put out that way. It's not said, it's not openly stated as that. But when you have your senior policy advisor, who, by the way, is a former Goldman Sachs executive, going around to rich people's homes for quote-unquote policy conversations, is Pete Buttigieg, does he think the American people are idiots? I know the media tries to make the American people stay dumb and numb, but you're literally sending your policy chief around to basically take orders from the plutocracy around the country in exchange for $2,800 a pop. If that isn't corruption, then we don't even have corruption. Then there's no standard for it anymore. That is blatant corruption. You could not have, first of all, the candidate himself or herself should not be going around to rich people's homes. We've already established that. By the way, welcome new member Michael.
Woo, Michael!
So, let me see. Let me see what the actual number. Gotta up. I'll get it. 1 second. Just want to get an updated number here for my peeps. Wow, we are now at 1,325. 1,325 status Coup members. Do you believe in miracles? Can we get to 1,350? I believe. 25 members away from 1,350 members. Colin, if you're watching, God bless you. Sorry to bug you. Send me 1,325 if you're watching. So, what's amazing to me, Pete Buttigieg is literally sending his staff around to rich people's homes, his top policy advisor, to basically take down their orders of what they want. Oh, you want opportunity zones in your neighborhood, i.e. gentrification? Pete Buttigieg says, I'm against Trump's tax cuts. We need to repeal it, but let's keep the opportunity zone portions. Opportunity zone is just a neoliberal phrase for gentrification, for real estate developers to come in, get huge tax cuts, huge tax abatements, and gentrify cities and push poor people out, mostly black, mostly brown, and more often now, poor white people too. So it's disgusting. A journalist should demand answers from him. How are you talking about bringing in a new Washington, a new form of politics, which is a lot of hot air? It doesn't mean anything. It's just consultants putting words in his mouth that he dutifully repeats. But that's not new Washington. That's current, corrupt Washington. So we got Joe Biden running around to his sugar daddies and sugar mamas on Wall Street. You got Pete Buttigieg doing the same exact thing all over this country because he doesn't really have small dollar support. Then you have, this was even more crazy to me. I tweeted about it before I went live. So we already know that Pete Buttigieg has had a little problem with a phrase called honesty. Remember that story from The Intercept where Pete Buttigieg's campaign falsely declared that hundreds of South Carolina lawmakers supported him? Remember that? I remember when it came out that in the email that they were sending out, there was a little disclaimer yeah, even if you don't tell us that you endorse Pete, we're just going to say you do. And it came out three very high profile African American lawmakers in South Carolina were we didn't endorse Pete Buttigieg, and his campaign was never challenged on that. As far as I know, he wasn't even challenged about it during a debate. Well, now, yesterday, it came out that he's going to get the endorsement of comedian, what's his name, Michael Peel? Am I saying his name right, babe?
Sorry, I'm talking to Jim.
Oh, excuse me. Yesterday it came out that he was going to get the endorsement of Keegan Michael Key. Keegan Michael Key, who's a big comedian. What is that? Key and Peele shows you what I know and how cultured I am. He was going to get the endorsement of Keegan Michael Key, which would have been a big endorsement. You know, African American. He's big guy in comedy and entertainment. Oh, that's cool. He's getting that endorsement. Pretty good for Pete Buttigieg, right? Well, less than 24 hours later, you can't make this stuff up. Less than 24 hours later, after Pete Buttigieg's campaign puts out that he's getting the endorsement of a big-time comedian, oh, wait a minute. The actor isn't endorsing him. After touting Keegan-Michael Key's support for Pete Buttigieg, the campaign told CNN later Saturday that the actor will now appear at the Buttigieg campaign events simply to encourage early voting and voter registration. Not officially endorse the former South Bend, Indiana mayor as a Democratic candidate for president. Quote, Keegan-Michael Key will be attending events this weekend, including Pete's rally tomorrow, to encourage early voting and voter registration across the state in advance of the Nevada caucuses, Buttigieg spokesperson Chris Meagher said in a statement. The same Chris Meagher, who has not responded to status Coup now for a week and a half, simply asking for an apology from the campaign for assaulting my cameraman. Quote, Pete's campaign is excited for the voter registration support Mr. Key brings, although Keegan-Michael has not officially endorsed a candidate. But the campaign first told CNN that Key was set to announce his support for the former mayor in Nevada, appearing at early voting locations Saturday before joining a canvass kickoff in Las Vegas and introducing Buttigieg on stage at the rally. The campaign later walked back the support comment and said Key was not officially endorsing the candidate. So let me tell you how this probably went. And again, I don't know for sure. I'm a journalist, but I'm not reporting this. I don't have verification on this. This is just my guess. So Pete Buttigieg's campaign, who again has falsely put out in the past that hundreds of black lawmakers and leaders and influencers in South Carolina support Pete Buttigieg and were endorsing Pete Buttigieg, only for it to be exposed thanks to Ryan Grimm and The Intercept. So they already have this bad habit, reputation for lying about black support. After, by the way, riding to a 7-10 bump in New Hampshire because they lied that he was the winner of the Iowa caucus. The audacity of this man to come out the night of the Iowa caucus with no results yet and just say, "Ooh, I won." But now he falsely says that a big-time comedian, Key and Peele, this is Key. Am I getting that right? Sorry, I'm not. Yeah. Keegan, Michael Key, is endorsing him. So you would think, for a high-level endorsement like this, you would think that maybe Pete Buttigieg himself would talk to the actual person that they're claiming endorsing. You would think that there would be some type of verbal or confirmation, like, yeah, I'm going with you. Let me know where to show up. You would think you have some type of confirmation that this guy is endorsing you. But it seems with the Buttigieg campaign, they don't really require that kind of confirmation. If it feels like they could say, this person is endorsing us, if it feels like they could say, black lawmakers in South Carolina are endorsing us, we'll just say it. Because the truth doesn't matter anymore, right? And we could just exploit, whether it's lawmakers in South Carolina that are black or a big-time comedian that is black, we could just exploit it. Well, what probably happened in this case was Keegan-Michael Key saw reports that he was endorsing Pete Buttigieg, and he picked up the phone, called whoever his contacts were with the campaign, and said, I'm not endorsing Pete Buttigieg. I told you I'd come, show up, and tell people to vote early. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Can you imagine if Bernie Sanders did the same thing? Frankly, I'm not a fan of her. Could you imagine if Elizabeth Warren claimed that a big-time comedian or celebrity was endorsing her and had to walk it back? The media would be all over it. They'd be calling them liars. They'd be doing an investigation. How did this happen? Pete Buttigieg lies about support in South Carolina among black people? Oh, too bad. Must have been a miscommunication. Pete Buttigieg lies. If you want to even give him the benefit of the doubt, let's say for a minute you just want to give him the benefit of the doubt, give his campaign the benefit of the doubt that they didn't lie. It must have been a miscommunication. Wires got crossed. They thought Keegan-Michael Kay was endorsing him, but he wasn't. Then you're incompetent. How are you going to be president if you can't even correctly understand if somebody's endorsing you or not? Come on. So, barely, it's not going to get covered. He'll get away with it. He'll get away with lying about this, just like he got away with lying about the support he was getting in South Carolina. But unfortunately for Pete and all of the neoliberals backing him, he's not going to be able to get away with math. He's not going to do so hot in Nevada, and he ain't going to do so hot in South Carolina. And from there, Super Tuesday ain't looking good either. So, unfortunate for Pete. Unfortunate. So we've gone through Biden. We've gone through Pete. Oh, now it's time to go into Michael Bloomberg. Oh my God, I've been waiting for this all my life. All my life, I've been waiting for Michael Bloomberg. So, what's amazing to me about the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party is literally so corrupt. And I don't want to say that without acknowledging, because sometimes I think when you focus a lot on the Democratic Party, that could sometimes make it seem like the Republican Party is not corrupt. The Republican Party is extremely corrupt. Donald Trump is doing fundraisers. He just did a fundraiser, I think, per plate for a couple was $550,000. Donald Trump is corrupt. Mitch McConnell is corrupt. They're all corrupt. So we're not condoning the Republican Party. I want to defeat the Republican Party. I want to defeat Trump. The problem is you cannot defeat Trump with Chamber of Commerce, moderate republicanism. And that's what the Democratic Party is trying to do here. So the Democratic Party, their brilliant idea is, we got to stop Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden is like an old record stuck on 1995, so he ain't going to do it. We couldn't get Kamala to the finish line. We couldn't get Beto to the finish line. We tried to get Warren to the finish line, but not working out for us. We can't get Amy. We've been giving Amy plenty of media coverage, plenty of media attention, and that hasn't worked, even though the media has redefined winning to be the third place winner in New Hampshire is the big winner. Let's give her 2,000 interviews in a week. It's just not working. So what are these DNC members, what are these folks thinking? Well, Bloomberg has got a lot of money, and they're still under the mindset that money equals victory. And yeah, he's got a terrible record, terrible policy, terrible sexual harassment claims against him and his organization, which I'm going to get into. Racist policy, racist statements. It's terrible all around. But Trump, it's still this mentality of you don't have to inspire anyone. You don't have to galvanize the base. You don't have to excite young people. You don't have to excite black people. You don't have to excite Latinos. You don't have to excite anyone. You just need to make Trump the Antichrist, and the troops will come out. All you need to do is shame those Bernie Sanders supporters. Shame them. Demand that they fall in line, and that too shall pass. The only problem is you are seeing very highly credible people. Very highly credible people. We're not talking about like Bernie Sanders supporters. You're talking about New York Times columnists. You're talking about some lawmakers are openly saying, I will not vote for Michael Bloomberg, even if it is him versus Donald Trump. You are seeing that all over the internet. And to tell you the truth, I would not vote for Michael Bloomberg. I would not vote for Michael Bloomberg. It is against what I stand for. I also do not believe in rewarding plutocracy. I do not believe in rewarding the buying of elections. As bad as Trump is, you can't condone, you can't say Trump is a unique threat and answer that with, let's put a plutocrat that bought his way into the White House. That's not an option. So what's amazing to me about Michael Bloomberg and his rise that is now being aided by the media. The media, I mean, credit to the Washington Post, who just did a good story on him, exposing the decades of sexual harassment that has gone on at his organization and with him involved too. But most of the media attention has not been critical on Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg has gotten away with doing 0 interviews. 0 interviews. Michael Bloomberg has gotten away with when video clips come out of him saying, yeah, the way to do it is just to toss black people against the wall, frisk them. There's very little media attention on it. And the media attention that there has been on the terrible things that Michael Bloomberg has done is to go after the messenger. Here's an example of that. Let's take a look at what Benjamin Dixon exposed, I believe, last week.
Percent of your murderers and murder victims. 95% of your murderers and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. They are male minorities, 15 to 25. That's true in New York. It's true in virtually every city. And that's where the real crime is. You've got to get the guns out of the hands of the people that get killed. So you want to spend the money, put a lot of cops in the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means in minority neighborhoods. So it's one of the unintended consequences is people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids for marijuana that are all minorities. Yes, that's true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. Yes, that's true. Why do we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them against the wall and frisk them. And then they say, oh, I don't want that, I don't want to get caught, so they don't bring the gun. They may still have a gun, but they leave it at home.
Yeah, just throw them against the wall and frisk them. Can you think of what really stands out to me about the way Michael Bloomberg talks is there is 0 emotion. It's just, he states just as business as usual, matter of factly, this is where the crime is. What do you got to do? Put all the police in the minority communities? Throw them against the wall? Frisk them. There's no emotion involved to it. There's no empathy. There's no sympathy. There's no humanity. It's just throw them against the wall and frisk them. And there's also no understanding. There's no understanding of the fact why is there crime in these areas? Why is that, Michael Bloomberg? Hold on, I'm trying to find another clip. Benjamin Dixon. So let's take a look at how CNN responded. Let's take a look how CNN responded to Michael Bloomberg basically saying the way to stop crime is to racially profile black people and Latinos, to throw them against the wall, frisk them, throw away their constitutional protections. They're not entitled to it. How did CNN respond to that? Oh, I forgot that this was my tweet. Fox News embedded my tweet. Here we go.
Yes, that's true. Why do we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of kids' hands is to throw them against the wall and frisk them.
So here's the thing. Important context here, we don't have the full tape. So this is obviously snippets that have been released. The podcaster and the writer that released this sound is clearly a Bernie supporter. If you look at his Twitter feed, he's very anti-Bloomberg. He is promoting a hashtag, Bloomberg is a racist. We don't know how he got the sound to begin with. So lots of questions are being asked, especially on the timing of this. As you noted in your introduction, a poll yesterday shows Bloomberg rising in the polls and particularly strong support in the African-American community. He polled at 22%, just behind Joe Biden at 27%. So the timing here and the mission here all calling into question.
We also know, right, Christina, that Bloomberg is going to face continued questions about his about the stop and frisk policy, about
So CNN, they want to look into the context. They want to look into the context of Michael Bloomberg basically saying, to hell with the Constitution. Michael Bloomberg basically saying, to hell with the Constitution that outlaws illegal search and seizure. To hell with the constitutional rights for African Americans, Latinos. To hell with it all. This is where crime is. It doesn't matter if you are traumatizing these people. It doesn't matter if you are scaring the hell out of these communities. It doesn't matter if you are probably creating even more crime by doing this. Doesn't matter. I'm a rich businessman, and we're going to do this because this is what the balance sheet looks like. CNN, their response to that is, well, I mean, look who posted this clip. Well, you know, we don't know how he found the clip. By the way, she's a fucking moron because that clip was on YouTube in full. That's how we found it. It was on YouTube. By the way, CNN left out this tiny little detail that reporter, who, by the way, I don't know, worked at Bloomberg. She was a reporter for Bloomberg News. Kind of saying, shouldn't that be disclosed that this reporter who is now offering the context was a reporter for Bloomberg News? Okay. So their response to blatant racism, that is blatant racism, the quotes you just heard from Michael Bloomberg, their response, attack the messenger, Benjamin Dixon, an independent media commentator. Their response, he's a Bernie bro. Their response, we don't know what his motivation is. Who? I don't care if a space alien posted the clip. There is no context needed. The clip speaks for itself, and what an actual journalist would do would pick up the phone or go find Michael Bloomberg and question him. Would also dig in further. CNN is based in New York. You know what they could do? They could go to the communities that were affected by stop and frisk and speak with actual living, breathing people. But they're not going to do that because they don't give a damn. They don't care how it affected people. They're trying to muddy the waters and just make it seem like a Bernie bro attack. Despicable. And great find by Benjamin Dixon. But that's not the only thing terrible that is out there about Michael Bloomberg. I mean, I didn't have time to go through every single thing because it would take me all day. It would take me all day. But we could just look at just a few of them. If you want a taste of Michael Bloomberg, here we go. Here is Michael Bloomberg. One second. Michael Bloomberg basically saying that Joe Biden has been unfairly attacked and he shouldn't be apologizing for his role in the crime bill.
They should have loved that, but they never even bothered to. Joe Biden went out and apologized for being male, over 50, white. He apologized for the one piece of legislation, which is actually a pretty good anti-crime bill, which if the liberals ever read it, most of the things they like is in that bill. They should have loved that, but they never even bothered to read it. You're anti-crime, you must be anti-populist.
Yes, liberals should have just loved what was in that bill. You know, the building of more prisons, the targeting minority communities, more cops on the street, the ushering in the mass incarceration as we know it. Liberals should have just loved that. Should have loved that. And by the way, Tom Steyer is getting a pass. Tom Steyer invested in private prisons with disproportionately screw black men. But the media is not going to cover that either. I mean, that's just one of them. You want more? Here's a shorter clip.
I'm not in favor, have never been in favor of. I, for example, am not in favor, have never been in favor of raising the minimum wage. I, for example, am not in favor, have never been in favor of raising the minimum wage. I, for example, am not in favor, have never been in favor.
What do you know? Michael Bloomberg, not in favor of raising the minimum wage. Michael Bloomberg, the best thing Joe Biden ever did was ushering in mass incarceration. Michael Bloomberg, toss black people against the wall, frisk them. This is who you're going to go with to defeat Donald Trump. And by the way, again, if you're coming to this late, don't think that these numbers are going to stay the same. Once the African American community, and I'm including older African Americans, once the African American community gets a taste of Michael Bloomberg's record, and it's not just his record, it's a laundry list of public statements. That ain't staying at 22%. This is black support in the recent Quinnipiac poll. Oh, no. That's not going to stay at 22%. As vile and terrible as Trump is, you can't defeat Trump with a somewhat less vile version of Trump, who's less bombastic and has a smarter political operation. His record is racist, and his words are racist. More importantly, his worldview is racist. And it's as much about being an out-of-touch plutocrat that has no sympathy or empathy. Not all plutocrats are out of touch. A lot of plutocrats do have sympathy, do have empathy. Some plutocrats are progressive. This is not one of them. And then you look into his actual record of just totally buying his way to prominence. I give the New York Times a lot of grief. But when they deserve credit, we got to give them credit. Look at Michael Bloomberg. I mean, this is a great piece by the New York Times. By the way, just want to remind folks, we are now at 1,325. 1,325 Status Coup members. We've grown, I believe, 27 members so far since we've been live. I would love to get that number closer to 1,350 today. It would help us with our goal, our mini goal, to hit 1,500 by the time the caucus happens. For those of you that are on the fence, we hope you could get off that fence. Every single new member makes a huge difference in us being able to cover this campaign. And here we go. Gonna update it for you. Hold on, my computer screen is a little slow. I've got too much on it. We're now at 1,325. 1,325 members. And just a reminder, if we get to 1,500, we're going to have the funding after Nevada to crisscross back across the country to cover South Carolina on the ground. And it could be a very, very different situation in South Carolina by the time Nevada is over, which makes us being in the ground even more important. You look at the polls now, Bernie's only down by 8. If Biden tanks again in Nevada, I'm not saying Bernie's going to win the South Carolina primary. That would be a really, really uphill climb. But if Bernie Sanders even comes within 3 to 5 points, that's a victory. So we hope to have the funding not only to cover Nevada, which we've already booked and I'm going this week. We hope to have the funding to then fly cross-country. South Carolina, very expensive. You're talking cross-country flights, hotels, rent a car, food, you know the drill. and then hopefully have funding after that to crisscross to California, which I think is the Super Tuesday state. California and Texas to watch. But California we want to go to because that's the most delegates of any state. If Bernie wins California by a decent margin, other than screwing him, it's going to be very difficult for another candidate to win the nomination as opposed to Bernie. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. So Michael Bloomberg, and again, very good story by the New York Times. You look at it. They go year by year of the amount of spending Michael Bloomberg has taken on to basically buy what you're seeing now. 2008 gives $102 million across 6 cities. 2009 gives $201 million across 11 cities. 2010, it goes up to $302 million. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. 2015 crosses the $1 billion he's giving across 81 cities. You got the East, Southeast, the South, the West, Northwest. Of course, a lot of the money he's giving is to good causes, but he's buying political alliances and political support. Look at 2016, goes up to $1.5 billion. Look at last year they have $2.3 billion he's giving across 103 cities. Of course, not a huge chunk of that money is not for good causes. It's for the only cause Michael Bloomberg truly cares about, Michael Bloomberg. Let's look at the beginning of this story, which shows you exactly the problem with Michael Bloomberg and politics in general. In the fall of 2018, Emily's List had a dilemma. With congressional elections approaching and the Supreme Court confirmation battle over Judge Brett Kavanaugh underway, the Democratic Women's Group was hosting a major fundraising luncheon in New York. Among the scheduled headline speakers was Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor, who had donated nearly $6 million to Emily's List over the years. Days before the event, Bloomberg made blunt comments in an interview with the New York Times, expressing skepticism about the Me Too movement and questioning sexual misconduct allegations against Charlie Rose, the disgraced news anchor. Senior Emily's List officials seriously debated withdrawing Mr. Bloomberg's invitation, according to 3 people familiar with the deliberations who spoke on the condition of anonymity. In the end, though, the group concluded it could not risk alienating Mr. Bloomberg. And when he addressed the luncheon on September 24th, before an audience dotted with women clad in black to show solidarity with Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who accused Judge Kavanaugh of sexual assault, Bloomberg demonstrated why. Quote, "I will be putting more money into supporting women candidates this cycle than any individual ever has before." It was not an idle pledge. Bloomberg spent more than $100 million helping Democrats take control of the House of Representatives in the midterm elections. Of the 21 newly elected lawmakers he supported with his personal super PAC, all but 6 were women. The decision by Emily's List to mute its misgivings and embrace Mr. Bloomberg as a mighty ally foreshadowed the choice Mr. Bloomberg is now asking Democrats to make by anointing him their presidential nominee. There are, after all, numerous dimensions to Bloomberg's persona and record that give Democrats pause. A former Republican who joined the Democratic Party in 2018, Bloomberg has long mingled support for progressive causes with more conservative positions on law enforcement, business regulation, and school choice. He has often given voice to views that liberals find troubling. Over the past week, Bloomberg's campaign was on the defensive over past recordings. So this is an extremely long piece. Let me put it in the super chat if you want to read it today. I'm gonna read more from this piece, but I think the point of this piece is Michael Bloomberg through sheer money. Michael Bloomberg through sheer money. And welcome new member Joel. Just got another new member. 1,326. Keep on signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. You could do it at $5 a month. Every single member helps us fund this thing. So basically, you have a group in Emily's List. Is it a coincidence that they've gotten all this money from Michael Bloomberg and now are attacking Bernie Sanders? Emily's List is also against Medicare for all. I wonder why. I think Emily's List does some good things, but it is the establishment group it's the establishment women's rights group among the Democratic Party. There's a whole lot of women's rights, reproductive freedom groups. Emily's List, time and time again, has favored pro-corporate, anti-Medicare for all politicians. And now they're going after Bernie Sanders, it just so happens, after receiving lots and lots of money from Michael Bloomberg. Go figure. But what you see here is organizations that are supposed to stand for core convictions. If you're Emily's List, you stand against misogyny. You stand against sexism. You stand against sexual harassment. You stand against sexual assault. You stand against patriarchal plutocrats who treat women as unequal. But if you're Michael Bloomberg, groups like this, and it's not just Emily's List, it's immigration groups, it's African American groups. There's a whole lot of groups that have made this deal with the devil, so to speak. Well, his views are reprehensible. His public statements are reprehensible. In Michael Bloomberg's case, which I'm about to show you, I mean, it's a laundry list of sexual harassment claims against him and his organization, but we need his money to win. And that's the calculation Emily's List has made, and that's the calculation a lot of individuals are making. By the way, it just so happens that there's some lawmakers now coming out endorsing Michael Bloomberg who, jolly Jim, have gotten a whole lot of political donations from Michael Bloomberg. To the point, I don't have the clip in front of me, where Gregory Meeks, a corrupt Democrat from New York, has the audacity to go on CNN and say, well, I don't support Bernie Sanders because I want to vote for an actual Democrat. That's why I'm endorsing Michael Bloomberg, who just joined the Democratic Party 5 minutes ago. They have no consistency. There is no intellectual consistency among the corporate Democrats. They claim they care so much about identity politics and protecting vulnerable communities, but when those vulnerable communities come out to vote for Bernie Sanders in Iowa, I'm talking about the Latinos that came out to vote for Bernie Sanders in Iowa satellite locations, the Muslims that came out to support Bernie Sanders and vote for him in satellite locations in Iowa. When that happens, to hell with identity politics. We have to try and weigh down. We have to water down those minorities' votes. This is what the Democratic Party tried to do. Tom Perez literally came out saying enough is enough. We need to do a recanvassing in Iowa when it was becoming evident that Bernie Sanders was closing the gap and he was actually going to win the caucus. He comes out because Pete Buttigieg's campaign complained that they wanted the delegates to be count less than other delegates, those delegates from the satellite locations, which happen to be locations that Latinos came and voted for Bernie, Muslims came and voted for Bernie, black people came and voted for Bernie. So I guess the vulnerable communities only matter when it's politically beneficial to the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. When it's not politically expedient, when it's not politically beneficial, no, we don't need them. Just got another new member. Welcome, Freddie! 1,327 members. Let's keep on going. I think we can get to 1,350. I think. So, what's amazing to me, you got Emily's List doing deals with the devil. You have politicians endorsing Michael Bloomberg because they've given money to him, because they've given money to them. And these are people that claim to be progressive. Honestly, if you look at the claims against Michael Bloomberg and his organization, particularly in the area of sexual harassment, I do not know how any person who claims to be champions of women, who claims to be champions of reproductive rights, who claim to be champions of equal pay for equal work, I don't know how anyone could support this cretin. And frankly, as somebody who has negatively experienced what happens when false accusations are made against you, I am personally somebody who strongly believes in looking at the evidence. I am somebody who believes in you're not guilty by tweet. But there is enough of a pattern with Michael Bloomberg to overwhelmingly conclude that he has a very, very, very disgusting, sexist, misogynistic, and patriarchal view of the world. This is from the Washington Post. Again, pretty good story. Got to give them credit. I just took a hell of a lot of screenshots. This was a story they just did. This is what Bloomberg, in a lawsuit against him from a former employee. On April 11th, 1995, at approximately 11:20 a.m., Bloomberg was having a photograph taken with two female company salespeople and a group of NYU business school students in the company snack area. When Bloomberg noticed Garrison, who was the employee, standing nearby, he asked, "Why didn't they ask you to be in the picture? I guess they saw your face." Continuing his penchant for ridiculing recently married women who were employed by him, Bloomberg asked the plaintiff, "How's married life? Are you married?" Plaintiff responded that her marriage was great and was going to get better in a few months, that she was pregnant and the baby was due the following September. He responded to her, "Kill it." Plaintiff asked Bloomberg to repeat himself, and again he said, "Kill it," and muttered, "Great, number 16." Suggesting to plaintiff his unhappiness that 16 women in the company had maternity-related status. Then he walked away. For years, the disputed "kill it" comment has been a central focus of questions about how Bloomberg treated women. David Zeilenziger, a former Bloomberg technology writer, told the Post he was there and heard the conversation. Quote, "I remember she had been telling some of her girlfriends that she was pregnant," Zeilenziger said. "And Mike came out and I remember he said, 'Are you going to kill it?' And that stopped everything. And I couldn't believe it." Zeilenziger said he never talked to Garrison about what he heard and did not participate in her lawsuit. He said Bloomberg's question was crude, inappropriate, and typical. He talked kind of crudely about women all the time. Shortly after the incident, Bloomberg called Garrison's home phone and left a lengthy voicemail, according to her handwritten notes of the call obtained by the Washington Post. Quote, "When you have time, give me a buzz or stop by," the CEO said. "I didn't even know you were pregnant until the other day." Bloomberg said that another employee had told him you were upset. He said, quote, "Whatever you heard wasn't what I said, and whatever I said had nothing to do with pregnancies." Bloomberg concluded the voicemail by saying he, quote, "couldn't be happier you were having a child," and, quote, "I apologize if there was something you heard, but I didn't say it. Didn't mean it. Didn't say it." I mean, on top of the original offense, again, you have eyewitnesses who heard him say it. You then have him basically trying to tell the woman in this case, "I apologize, but you're lying. I apologize if you imagined hearing something, but I didn't say it." I mean, that goes beyond misogyny and sexism to just like a gaslighting of epic proportions. Hey, you think I called you a bad word? You think I made an anti-Semitic comment to you? You think I made a racist comment to you? You think I made a sexist comment to you? Clean out your ears. I apologize if you thought you heard something, but clean out your ears. I never said it. Oh, these other people who heard me say it? Yeah, no, they're wrong too. Can you imagine being that arrogant? Believing that the rules just don't apply to you? Not actually apologizing and saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I meant it as a joke," or I don't even know what I was thinking saying that. That's a terrible thing to say. I'm so sorry. Blah 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 blah. No, I didn't say it. What's he going to do as president? Is he going to bomb other countries and say, I didn't bomb, we didn't bomb them, it wasn't us? Don't believe what I say, believe what I say. Exactly. It gets worse. It gets worse. In her lawsuit, Garrison said she complained to managers, but they told her to, quote, forget it ever happened. A few months later, Garrison alleged Bloomberg directed her firing. She did not respond to a request for comment from the Washington Post. Garrison's initial lawyer in the case, Bonnie Joseph, said of her former client, quote, "She's completely credible. She said Garrison's allegation that Bloomberg told her to, quote, kill it was an anti-female statement in the employment context. She had a good cause of action. She said Bloomberg should authorize the release of the deposition and let them be subjected to public scrutiny. If you haven't been paying attention, and you could read it in the piece, Michael Bloomberg has said he will not release women who sued him or the company from their non-disclosure agreements. Well, if you're not going to release them from their non-disclosure agreements, there's only a few reasons. One, you're scared shitless that the details of those non-disclosure agreements and what was actually said and done are going to come out. B, it goes beyond the presidency. You don't want your business to take a hit. Bloomberg's business, Bloomberg News, but more specifically, the Bloomberg business terminal that Wall Street uses for their financial information. Once those details come out, that could be bad for business. So Michael Bloomberg, and remember, the one time Donald Trump has apologized for anything as a politician was when the Access Hollywood tape came out. Remember that? When he said you could just grab women by the beep, whether they wanted or not. That's the only time he came out and apologized. Why do you think he came out and apologized? Was it because Melania told him? No, because it could have tanked his business empire. That's why Donald Trump came out and apologized. But Michael Bloomberg, if he don't want those non-disclosure agreements out there, because it would be a disaster for his business. And because he doesn't want the truth to be exposed about the things he said, the conditions he allowed, and just the total crude behavior. By the way, we are now at 1,327. 1,327 Status Coup members. We just got another sign up. Image Vo. Didn't give me your first name, but username Image Vo. Welcome, new Status Coup member. So we are now just 23 members away from 1,350. Keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. Sign up for as low as a cup of coffee a month, $5 a month. So, let's show you more of this disgusting history of Michael Bloomberg. Upon information and belief in 1989, when a male company salesperson was getting married, Bloomberg said to the female salespeople, quote, "All of you girls line up to give him oral sex as a wedding present." He repeated like words on several occasions in each of the years plaintiff was employed at the company. Of course, this is an allegation. I can't independently confirm it, but there's a whole lot of witnesses backing up that these statements were made, that this was the culture Michael Bloomberg created at Bloomberg. Here's another one. Upon information and belief in October 1989, Bloomberg was unhappy with the outcome of a business meeting. He said to a newly hired female company salesperson, "If the clients told you to lay down and strip naked so they could fuck you, would you do that too?" He repeated similar words or substance at frequent intervals throughout the period of plaintiff's employment. Upon information and belief in or about July 1993, Bloomberg heard that a female company salesperson who had just had a baby was having difficulty finding a nanny. He yelled loudly at her in the presence of a large group of employees, quote, "It's a fucking baby. All it does is eat and shit. It doesn't know the difference between you and anyone else. All you need is some black who doesn't even have to speak English to rescue it from a burning building. All you need is some black who doesn't even have to speak English to rescue it from a burning building." The salesperson cried at hearing her employer say such things to her in so public a manner. Yeah, this is definitely who you want to get out the African American vote. This is definitely who you want to get out the Latino vote. This is definitely who you want to galvanize the young people in America. Oh my God, what a disaster. What a disaster. There's more. Shortly after Garrison left the company, this is the woman who was pregnant and experiencing Michael Bloomberg telling her to kill her child. Shortly after she left the company, an employee named Mary Ann Olszewski sued Bloomberg LP in 1996, alleging that she was drugged and raped by her supervisor. She said that employees from Bloomberg on down engaged in a pattern and practice of, quote, sexual degradation of women, and that Bloomberg made comments about employees such as, quote, I'd like to do that piece of meat. Olszewski, who worked as a sales representative, said in her suit that the company, quote, took no steps to prevent or curtail the ongoing sexual harassment of female employees by Michael Bloomberg. After Olszewski allegedly was raped by a supervisor in a Chicago hotel room, Bloomberg was informed. He later described his response in a deposition, an excerpt of which was first published by the Village Voice in 2001. The full deposition has never been made public. Olszewski could not be reached for comment. Bloomberg was asked in the deposition what would constitute, quote, satisfactory proof that one of his employees had been raped by another. Quote, I guess an unimpeachable third-party witness, he responded. The lawyer seemed stunned. In what kind of rape, he asked Bloomberg, would there be a third-party witness? Quote, there are times when three people are together, Bloomberg responded. But Bloomberg said if there were only two people present and they gave conflicting accounts, there would be no way to know who is telling the truth, and, quote, all we could do is provide separate working environments for the two. Yeah, no way to know. There's no such thing as a rape kit. There's no such thing as looking at the male being accused. Do they have a criminal history? Do they have a violent history? Have other women in the company or in that person's life experienced aggressive behavior by that male? Were there other people maybe not in the room but saw the two together that night? There's no way to know. If the guy says, I didn't do it, the girl says he did, there's no way to know. It's just unreal. Unbelievable, this guy's worldview. Bloomberg was also asked in the deposition about Olszewski's allegation that he had said he would like to, quote, do that piece of meat. Responded Bloomberg, quote, I don't recall ever using the term meat at all. The case was dismissed when Olszewski's lawyer failed to meet a filing deadline. Bloomberg, who was mayor of New York from 2002 to 2013, put the company in a blind trust during that period. In the midst of that service, the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sued Bloomberg LP, alleging it had engaged in a pattern of discrimination against female employees based on their sex and pregnancy. The 2007 complaint said the employees' pay was decreased and that they were subjected to demotions. In some cases, the women said they were replaced by junior male employees. Some of the language in the suit echoed the allegations raised by Garrison. By the letter dated July 10, 1995, plaintiff was advised by Bloomberg LP that her employment with the defendant was terminated effective May 31, 1995, and that as of that date, she had been suspended from health and life insurance benefits without notice. Upon information and belief, Bloomberg directed the plaintiff's employment be terminated. Plaintiff was terminated by defendants because she was a pregnant Japanese woman who had previously complained and otherwise expressed disgust and outrage regarding the hostile and discriminatory work environment at Bloomberg LP. Her termination was improper because it constituted unlawful discrimination and unlawful retaliation against her for complaining about that discrimination. The company, quote, has been engaged in a pervasive course of discriminatory conduct based on sex, pregnancy against its pregnant employees. This systemic top-down discrimination is fostered, condoned, and perpetuated by the highest levels of management within Bloomberg and by the ownership of Bloomberg, to wit, Michael Bloomberg and others. Once a female employee says she is pregnant, quote, they fall into disfavor. While the case focused on the events that took place when Bloomberg was not running the company, the EEOC deposed Bloomberg twice, asking him about the company culture he had fostered. The Post obtained the depositions under a Freedom of Information Act request. Throughout the hundreds of pages of testimony, Bloomberg repeatedly denied that there was any discrimination at his company. He also was asked about Garrison's allegations that he told her to, quote, kill it, in reference to her unborn child. Quote, I never said those words, and there would be no reason to do so. It's ridiculous, and it's an outrage. Deny, deny, deny. Bloomberg grew irritated when a lawyer asked him about women who said they were discriminated against. Quote, do you make up these names, or are they legit? He asked. Quote, I don't, the lawyer responded. I've been taking these depositions, Mayor Bloomberg, almost 200 so far. The case was eventually dismissed by U.S. District Judge Loretta A. Preska, who wrote that the evidence was, quote, insufficient to show a pattern of discrimination, quote, even if there were several isolated instances of individual discrimination. I'd like to see the money trail on that court, on that judge, and on other judges. Let's see if they ever receive money, indirectly or directly, from Michael Bloomberg. Listen, obviously Donald Trump has been accused, I think, by 16 to 20 women of sexual assault, sexual harassment, misogyny, sexism. So it's not like Donald Trump is some champion of women's rights. He's a predator by all accounts and all allegations. But I don't know how people who claim to be, forget progressive for a second, who claim to be champions of women, minorities, the vulnerable, I don't know any of them could look the other way and claim, well, we got to beat Trump. So this guy is, if you want to, a charitable interpretation, this guy is a 1950s pig who believes women should be in the kitchen. I don't care how much money he is given to female women's groups. That does not mean you champion women. When you're worth $60 billion, every dollar you give does not mean you champion the causes you're giving. A lot of the money he's giving are a means to a political end. Two wrongs do not make a right. You don't say, well, Donald Trump, Bloomberg, let's look the other way because Donald Trump is worse. This is the mentality and the stupidity the Democratic Party has been pushing for years. Lesser of two evils. Well, more people are starting to say, no, we're just tired of evil, period. We're not going to vote for the lesser of the two evils because we're still getting screwed. So I'm a man. I'm not going to tell women how to vote. But if you truly believe Michael Bloomberg as president would have your best interest at heart, look at their actions, not their, well, in this case, look at their actions and their words. Jen and I will both have plenty more on Michael Bloomberg. I had enough time this weekend to just show you that. But between the toss black people against the wall and frisk them, between, put the cops in minority communities, that's where the crime is, between telling pregnant women to kill their fetuses because it inconveniences his business, between rape allegations at his organization, between him telling a woman who he told, kill your baby, I didn't say that, you're making it up, don't believe your lying ears. I mean, this is a worldview that, do you think it's changed as he's gotten older and more rich? No. No. So, on one end, it's disgusting that the DNC changed the rules just for Michael Bloomberg, because it shows they didn't change the rules for Tulsi Gabbard. They didn't change the rules for Andrew Yang. They didn't change the rules for Cory Booker, for Julian Castro, to allow them to debate. They changed it for Michael Bloomberg after Michael Bloomberg gave them $325,000. But at this point, Michael Bloomberg needs to be on a debate stage so somebody, hopefully Bernie, oops, sorry, darling, So somebody could challenge him. I don't know if the moderators would challenge him. That's asking too much for them to do actual journalism. But, I mean, between Bernie, hopefully Warren, somebody's got to challenge this guy and expose that he is a racist, misogynist, sexist, frankly, animal. And by the way, activists and journalists, it will be tough to challenge him because he surrounds himself with bodyguards and handlers to make sure he can't be challenged. This is the definition of plutocracy, and it's disgusting. So, by the way, we are now at 1,328 members. Maybe we could get a big finish because I'm closing down the live stream soon. Maybe we could get that big finish because we tend to get a lot of signups in the final 20 minutes to a half hour. So I'm going to do one more story and then do a little Q&A. We're at 1,328 members. Can we get another 22 and get to 1,350? I think it's possible. So, as we head to Nevada, which is already booked, I'm going there this week, to make sure, we are on top of the fuckery. I'm not going to lie to you. Been hearing a lot of troubling things here in Nevada. A lot of troubling things coming out of Nevada. And we could hope that it's not Iowa 2.0. But from what I'm hearing from volunteers on the ground, from what I'm hearing from people in Bernie's campaign on the ground, troubling. Troubling to say the least. Let me get some of my information out. Jen also put together a little note for me. Let's start here. And keep on signing up as a Status Coup member. Keep on the super chats. We appreciate all of it. So, Caucus worker warns Nevada is on the path to becoming another Iowa. A Nevada caucus worker is warning that the upcoming caucus, quote, is going to be worse than Iowa if it's not fixed. Seth Morrison said he's slated to work as a site leader overseeing 6 North Las Vegas precincts in the upcoming primary. Quote, I'm feeling very concerned. As a Democrat, I want the caucuses to work. I want them to be successful, but I'm afraid we're on the path to becoming another Iowa. Fox 5 has repeatedly attempted to contact the Nevada Democratic Party with questions about the upcoming caucus. Tuesday, we were granted an interview with a party leader on conditions that only early voting would be discussed. Wow. Early voting is a concern of Morrison. Nevada's caucus system differs from Iowa in that there's early voting in the Silver State. Quote, the technology to combine the results from early to caucus day, which is supposed to be handled by this company called Shadow, clearly didn't work. They're trying to come up with a fix at the last minute and have not convinced me and many others that they have a fix that will work. The Nevada Democratic Party's been tight-lipped about the app's replacement. Morrison asked about its status this week. Quote, the status is we're working on it. Trust me. And if I tell you who did it, then they'll be hacked. Ugh. So the Nevada State Democratic Party is using the same ridiculous talking points that the Iowa State Democratic Party. We can't tell you who's working on the quote-unquote digital tool, as they're calling it. They're saying we're not using an app, we're using a digital tool. When Fox 5 and Status Coup has reached out, because I've reached out, crickets. To Morrison's knowledge, some kind of app or tool will be preloaded onto tablets, distributed to site leaders like him, then given to the volunteers working. Quote, I was in an all-day training with about 300 or 400 volunteers, and half of them were walking around on Saturday saying, what? How does this work? There were people in that room who said, I've never used an iPad. From the undisclosed app/tool developer, plans to distribute the iPads ahead of time to volunteers without any real vetting, Morrison says he's scared stiff about the caucus. On Saturday afternoon, during that training, I talked to 3 or 4 friends. I said, this is dangerous. This is going to be worse than Iowa if not fixed. I talked to party officials who refused to talk to me. I was told by others who called electeds who refused to talk, and I realized that I'd rather blow the whistle now than risk it all falling apart on caucus day. So the Nevada caucus is 6 days away. 6 days away. We do not know what exactly is this tool they're using. We do not know who is the developer for this tool. They're not using the tool for early voting, but they are using the tool for day of caucus voting. Just like in Iowa, we had no idea who the developer was of, in the case of Iowa, an app. In the case of Nevada, a tool. But I don't know what a tool means. To me, obviously, if you're using an iPad, you could have apps on your iPad, just like you could have apps on your phone. So to me, tools sound like misdirection and a funny word for an app. Obfuscation, my girlfriend says. And I reached out to the Nevada State Democratic Party yesterday, and here's what I wrote. Ooh, I don't want to give you my email, because I already get enough emails. I said, Molly, she's the communications director. Jordan with Status Coup. I'm being told by multiple sources who've received online training to chair caucus precincts in the upcoming Nevada caucus that they are being told a separate training for the digital tool being used to transmit results will come later. They've received no exact date or information on what exactly this digital tool is. Questions. What is the digital tool? Second, what is the company? Who is the company or developer behind it? 3. Was the national DNC involved with the development or contracting with this company? 4. What is the purpose for using this digital tool? 5. Why is it caucus volunteers are not receiving information on the digital tool? Shockingly, didn't get a response. Thank you. Just got $50 from Crackhead Love 207. Love you, Crackhead Love. Thank you. Keep it coming in the super chat. Sorry if I missed any of yours. We love you. So let me get this straight. And by the way, I just read to you the Fox story I've been getting. And by the way, just so you know, I'm pretty burnt out, folks. I mean, between Iowa and New Hampshire, it was 17 hours a day for about a week and a half, on top of, doing live streams right after those. So I'm pretty burnt out. I'm still looking into things, but the last few days I've just tried to decompress a little bit. I also have had to tend to personal things. I'm moving in a few weeks, so I've had to deal with preparation for that. I got a shit ton of mail, including bills I got to pay, personal things. So I am looking into Nevada, even though I'm trying to relax, and I'm hearing from multiple sources on the ground. When I say sources, I'm talking about volunteers, people in training, doing online training to be precinct chairs for the Bernie Sanders campaign in Nevada. Each campaign has their own precinct chairs. So I've been talking to multiple people who are telling me the online training doesn't say a word about a digital tool on caucus day. When we ask the people running the training, who, no offense, happen to be older boomers, we are told, oh yeah, we'll get you that information later. How is it that 6 days before the Nevada caucus, we don't have anything? I don't trust the phrasing of a digital tool. I don't trust not knowing who is behind the digital tool. I don't trust not knowing, is the company behind the digital tool, have they received any money from Pete Buttigieg's campaign, or Joe Biden's campaign, or Elizabeth Warren's campaign, or Amy Klobuchar's campaign, or anybody's campaign? How much money have they received, or how much business have they done with the Democratic National Committee, who it later came out was very, very involved with the Shadow app in Nevada. Well, in Iowa. Welcome, new member. James just signed up.
James, what up?
Heyo. We are now at 1,329 members. 21 members away from 1,350. Keep signing up, baby. We got a little bit more of the live stream. We're going to do some question and answer with you. Would love to get a little lightning round of new member signups. So I don't trust any of this. It's not because I'm a conspiracy theorist. It's not because I'm a Bernie bro. It's because I've been here before. I've heard this old record, 2016. So Rafael Rodriguez, $5 in the super chat. They are no longer using Shadow Inc. for app development for Nevada. Instead, they are using a new company called Subterfuge Inc. I like that, Rafael. I mean, it's just preposterous. How does a country that claims to be a leading democracy, the envy of the rest of the world, do their elections like this? And I don't want to hear anymore that this is incompetence. This is intentional chaos. They are intentionally creating chaos. You know what the responsible thing to do would be? You know what the responsible thing to do would be? If you actually had an interest, if you're the DNC or the Nevada State Party, after seeing the giant catastrophe that was Iowa, it would be to totally wipe your hands. We're not using an app. We're not using digital. We obviously need 4 more years to figure this digital stuff out in order to use it effectively, state by state. But we can't do it in 2 weeks. We're not using an app. We're not using iPads. We're not using a digital tool. We're doing it the old-fashioned way. Paper ballots. Call in the results like they've been doing for years. Maybe it's a little harder, but it's more effective. Sure, there are going to be shenanigans. There is going to be fuckery. I've already heard from multiple sources on the ground that just early voting, there has been crazy, crazy long lines for this early voting, but because they don't know what they're doing. They have people that are barely trained at these early voting sites. So it's just unbelievable to me that 6 days before the Nevada caucus, we still don't know several things. We don't know what is the digital tool they are using. Is it an app? We don't know the purpose for the digital tool. They say it's to transmit the results. Well, the Nevada State Party hasn't confirmed that. They won't release who is behind the digital tool. Who is the developer behind the digital tool, claiming the same ridiculous thing that the Iowa State Party claimed. And by the way, when I say the Iowa State Democratic Party, I really mean the DNC, because the DNC was the one calling the shots, as we've found out since. They're not claiming they could be hacked. Well, people who worked for the parent company of Shadow, reports came out saying before the Iowa caucus, they didn't understand why they weren't releasing the information, citing releasing the information did not open it up to being hacked any more than it was already opened up to being hacked. The truth is, they probably aren't releasing the company because it's probably another tech company with ties to corporate establishment candidates. Whether in the case of Shadow, it was run by 4 former Hillary Clinton staffers from Hillary's 2016 campaign. The company received $42,000 from Pete Buttigieg's campaign, also received a lesser amount from Joe Biden's campaign. The reason they're not releasing the information is not because of a fear of it being hacked. There's probably, if you follow the money, financial connections to either current candidates, former candidates, or the DNC itself. We cannot go into, I will be looking into this before I go there. You can't go into another caucus like the Wild Wild West not knowing what is the purpose of the digital tool. What does it mean? What does a digital tool actually mean? Is it an app? Is it a tool? Is it a Google spreadsheet? Because there's been conflicting things. We're hearing for the actual early vote, they're not using the digital tool, they're just using a Google spreadsheet for early voting. But if you're using a, quote, digital tool for actual day of voting, how are these going to seamlessly coexist? How is the Google spreadsheet for early voting going to seamlessly transition into a digital tool? Why is the Nevada State Democratic Party not answering journalists? Why are they saying we'll do an interview only about early voting, but we won't go into the digital tool? Are they making it up as they go along? Are they still figuring out how to work the digital tool? I think that Fox article made a good point. A lot of people don't know how to use an iPad. A lot of older people don't know how to use an iPad. If you go election by election, God bless them, but a lot of these volunteers in caucuses and primaries happen to be older people. Nothing wrong with that, but they're not well versed on iPads. Frankly, I'm 33. I don't use an iPad. I could figure it out, but I wouldn't want to rely on somebody like me or an older person to figure it out on caucus day. I mean, it is blatantly, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, which I will not, it's blatantly chaotic. And I think it's intentional chaos to harm the candidate who is on the up and up, on the uphill climb in Bernie Sanders, and give life support to lesser candidates. And this is not how actual democracy works. The caucus system in itself is undemocratic. And then you add in, oh, we're using a digital tool. We can't tell you what the digital tool is. It's ridiculous. Here's some additional notes that Jen put together. This is from the Daily Beast. The Nevada caucus has the Nevada State Democratic Party has reportedly not given volunteers and campaigns straight answers on how the caucuses will be carried out without the app. The answer is, we don't have an answer yet, one presidential campaign aide told the Las Vegas Journal. And yes, the line of communication is open, but the lack of information is concerning for sure, one campaign told the Daily Beast. Some volunteers have reportedly been trained to use a tool installed on an iPad where they can enter results, but it's unclear if the tool will be calculating results and transmitting them back to the party. It's also unclear how the tool is any different from an app. Quote, currently testing a system that could support 3,000 volunteers and have a paper backup system. Spokesperson Molly Forgy said the party would run caucuses that were, quote, secure, simple, and efficient, but declined to provide other specifics. Oh, so you're currently 6 days before the caucus testing a system that could support 3,000 volunteers and have a paper backup system. Jesus Christ. And by the way, folks, like the gap between the Iowa and New Hampshire caucus, Nevada is on the 22nd of November. November shows you my need to rest. The 22nd of February. South Carolina is exactly 7 days later. 22nd of February, South Carolina is the 29th. So you have 7 days between Nevada and South Carolina. So what happens again if there's technical problems the day or night of the caucus? What happens again if, the iPad doesn't work, so we now have to retroactively, go precinct by precinct? You know what happens? You again have another 3 to 4 day delay. If the results are close, like in Iowa, results I put in air quotes because it was riddled with errors, so I don't even think today we have the real numbers. You have possibly Bernie Sanders again being deprived of a victory for days in Nevada. As a result, Bernie Sanders again, by the polls, I'm saying Bernie Sanders because he's in the lead, again being deprived of the media bounce, the fundraising bounce of being declared the winner that night, and another candidate, in this case maybe Biden, maybe Warren, getting to spin it however they want, that they won the Nevada caucus and get that momentum going into South Carolina. This is not how competent and ethical political parties run campaigns, run elections. And by the way, just to be clear, it is not the Iowa State Democratic Party. It is not the Nevada State Democratic Party. The Democratic National Committee oversees all of these state parties. Tom Perez, Democratic National Committee, calling the shots here. So we could toss incompetency, we could toss phrases like incompetency, corruption, ineptitude, chaos onto the Nevada State Democratic Party. But the DNC is in charge here. The DNC, we found out later, was the one that contracted and had the idea to use this app in Iowa. Well, I can't put in freedom of information requests to the DNC or the Iowa State Democratic Party or the Nevada State Democratic Party because the DNC isn't a governmental body. It's a private corporation. So they are not subject to freedom of information requests. Freedom of information requests, journalists could only make them to actual government agencies or individuals. So I can't get Tom Perez's emails with the Iowa State Democratic Party or the Nevada State Democratic Party. I can't get other DNC emails. I mean, I'm not WikiLeaks. If somebody wants to leak them to us, God bless. info@statuscoup.com. As a journalist, if you leak it to us, we will vet it, make sure it's accurate, and go from there. But this is just chaos. I'll, of course, know more once I'm on the ground. We're going this week to Nevada, so we will be there. I don't know a lot of other independent outlets that are going to be on the ground in Nevada. We will be there. Again, we hope very, very much to have the funding to go from Nevada to South Carolina. So South Carolina still in the question mark column. California, Super Tuesday, still in the question mark column. Help us grow. Statuscoup.com/join. Once we get to 1,500 members, I truly believe, looking at the numbers, once we get to 1,500, we will be able to take South Carolina out of the question mark column and say definitively we have the funding to travel to South Carolina to cover the primary there. And let me tell you, if Bernie wins Nevada, it's going to get very interesting in South Carolina. So, before I end, let's do a little lightning round. Questions, comments, concerns. Thank you. We've gotten so many new member signups today. I can't thank you guys enough. Let me give you the current member count here. We are at 1,329. So we're 21 members away from 1,350 members. I think I'm going to have to update that because I just got an alert. We just got a new member, Nadia. Welcome. So we are now at 1,330 Status Coup members. 20 members away. 20 away. Keep signing up. Somebody asked, why not Texas? Shorter flight from South Carolina. That's a good question. I think we want to cover California instead of Texas. Not that Texas isn't important. Don't get me wrong, but California has the most delegates of any state in this process. So, obviously things could change in terms of polls, this and that. But if you have Bernie Sanders, for example, winning Nevada, if you then have Bernie Sanders coming in a close second, let's say, in South Carolina, Bernie Sanders would have won 3 out of the first 4 states. If you group Iowa, if you group New Hampshire, if you group Nevada, and then him coming in a close second place. Again, I don't want to give people false expectations. I think it would be tough for Bernie to win South Carolina. I think there's institutional support among African Americans for Joe Biden. But if Joe Biden comes in 3rd or 4th in Nevada, I think his campaign is on life support at that point. I think it would be possible that he loses South Carolina to Bernie. But to answer your question, why California? Because it's got the most delegates of any state. And if Bernie Sanders wins in California, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if he wins in California, it's almost a wrap. It would be very hard for another candidate, even Bloomberg, to defeat Bernie Sanders other than the DNC cheating and giving it away at the convention if Bernie doesn't have the most pledged delegates, if Bernie doesn't have the number to clinch it, if he has the most pledged delegates, it would be very, very difficult for a candidate. If Bernie has won Iowa, Nevada, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, comes in a close second in South Carolina, which matters because he will collect a lot of delegates even in a close second place. Joe Biden needs to win by 10 to 20 points in South Carolina because he's in a delegate hole. After South Carolina, if Bernie Sanders were to win California, in addition to a lot of other Super Tuesday states that he's winning, he would have a delegate lead that is very, very large at that point. And if there's still this mishmash of moderate right-wing Democrats in the race, they're not going to have they're not going to have enough by the math. They're going to be behind. The second place person will be significantly behind Bernie Sanders. So at that point, they would have to win the rest of the states. I think 538 said in a scenario where Bernie Sanders wins the majority of Super Tuesday states, the second place person, according to the delegates, would have to win the remainder of the states at like a 52 to 47% average for the rest of the states to catch up in the delegates. So that's why California. Butthole, $4.99. Thanks for the $4.99. Do you have any plans to talk to any members of that Nevada culinary union with the sketchy union bosses? Great question. I certainly do. We're definitely going to be putting out calls to talk to members of the culinary union. To be clear, a lot of those culinary union members, like other union members, are very scared of their union bosses. So they might not want to talk on camera. They might not want to talk on the record. They might want to have guarantees that we will black out their faces, distort their voices, because a lot of people, and I've experienced this while covering General Motors laying off 15,000 workers in Michigan, Ohio, and other parts of the country last year. We went to Michigan. We interviewed a bunch of union workers in Detroit. They asked us to black out their faces and distort their voices because they were afraid of retribution by their union bosses if they spoke out against the union or the company. So we are going to try and talk to culinary workers. Whether they'll do it on camera, I don't know. But we're going to try, for sure. Let's see. Jordan, I hope you like the Biden meme I emailed you. Prepare to repel voters. Feel free to use it. I'll check it out. Thank you. By the way, if I don't respond to you, we get a lot of emails to info@statuscoup.com. If I don't respond to you, it's not because I don't love you, but we're just overwhelmed. It's just Jen and I. That's another reason we're trying to grow. We need to fund additional support staff. We are definitely appreciate all the emails you read. I try to read them all. We just can't respond to all of them, so don't take any offense. JK, $5. I think Chuck Todd is clumping progressive centrist support to get people used to the idea of stealing the nomination from Bernie in a contested convention. That's not a bad point. The media does push their narrative because they are biased and they are part of the establishment. So by him clumping that moderate number of support, which I started the live stream pointing out, by him adding up the moderates to show that there's more moderate support if you add Biden, Buttigieg, and Klobuchar together than progressive support if you add Bernie and Warren, it is trying, it's almost like that super delegate thing they did in 2016 to try and make it seem like the race was already over and Hillary Clinton had an insurmountable lead by lumping in super delegates visually on screen. It's almost like they're trying to do the same thing by adding up the moderates to say there's more moderate support. There's more support for moderates than there are progressives. Elections don't work that way, of course, but they're going to try. Chuck Todd is paid a lot of money to push propaganda and lies and create an alternate reality from the actual reality, which is in a normal system, the winner of the popular vote in Iowa and New Hampshire would be called the front runner. But when it's Bernie Sanders, they're trying to come up with every single way in the book that they could say he's not the front runner, that he's underperforming. It's sad, but that's what they're doing. We are 20 members away, so let's keep on getting those member signups. And it's, by the way, it's remarkable. We're like 2.5 hours in, and we still got almost 1,300 viewers. So thank you all to who stuck around. If you didn't see in the beginning of this live stream, Tuesday, I will be doing an Ask Me Anything AMA with Way of the Burn Reddit channel. So go check that out. I think they have like 55,000 followers on Reddit. Is that what they call it on Reddit, babe? Followers? Yeah. So Way of the Burn, I tweeted about it earlier. So there's a link on my Twitter. Definitely go check that out. Comment. Hopefully you'll be there. You could ask me anything you want. I will answer. That's Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. I was also on Graham Elwood's show the other day, so you could go check that out on his channel. Support it. Support him if you can. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Let's get some more member signups. Michael, they will give all delegates that all the establishment Dems got to their anointed one, whoever that might be. They won't even need superdelegates to beat Bernie that way. And this brings me to what I wanted to talk about early, but I got so sidetracked with all of the things I had to do today. Biden, Bernie, Klobuchar, Pete. I had to cover a lot of things. And by the way, I failed to mention this. We just passed 20,000 followers on Twitter. So we're growing all over the place. Twitter, we're growing. YouTube, we're growing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as a reminder, I know we give you a lot to do. Follow us on Instagram, too. That's Instagram.com/Status Coup. Follow us on the Insta. We appreciate it. So, here's what I have to say. And Elizabeth Warren, or people watching her or supporting her, I hope you're watching. And I'm sure I'll be labeled as sexist, but that's okay. That's okay. Because I'm going to say the same thing about Tulsi Gabbard. And I said the same thing about Andrew Yang, and, kudos to him. Not that he listened to me, but he dropped out. It is really, 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 really time for Elizabeth Warren. Obviously, we know that in the past, she has not done the progressive thing. It was not a minor thing to sit it out in 2016 and not endorse Bernie. By the way, welcome new Status Coup member, Diane.
Welcome, Diane!
1,331 members, 19 members away from hitting that 1,350. I can't thank you guys enough. Oh, wow. Another new member, Skylar. 1,332 Status Coup members, now just 18 away. Holy cow. And you know what? I ain't going to lie. I was like, oh, damn, I got to do a live stream today. I'm not feeling great. I haven't been sleeping. Hey, you give us, what's today? I think we have got like over 30 new members so far, maybe even more than that. I'll do it, even if I don't feel well. Keep on signing up. So let me get Elizabeth Warren, who sat it out in 2016, abandoned Bernie Sanders, abandoned progressives, who stood it out, said nothing about Standing Rock, who in this election, I don't know why people keep saying she stabbed Bernie in the back. She didn't stab him in the back. She stabbed him in the front. She breached a private conversation, which is unethical in itself. Her and Bernie met, supposed to be private, after she, I wasn't in the room, but to me, it seems like Bernie said one thing, she heard it a different way, and then took her interpretation of what was said. She told her campaign advisors, and then she wasn't angry or upset enough then to go to the media. She waited a year later, and then, in a desperate move, tried to use it to thinking, because she has terrible political instincts, thought that it would tank Bernie's campaign and she could peel off female support from Bernie Sanders. Unfortunately, people have brains, and it just didn't make sense. This is not something people who have watched Bernie Sanders for years believe he would think, much less say. So here's what I have to say to Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, if you look at it politically, her best chances were in Iowa and New Hampshire. Why? Because she put the most resources into Iowa. She put more resources into Iowa than even Bernie did. Why? Remember, she started out with $10 million. She also she announced in December of 2018. She announced first of any candidate. She had more staff on the ground in Iowa than any other candidate. Iowa was a very good state for her by the map. She came in a distant third place. Should she have gotten more coverage out of Iowa than, say, Amy Klobuchar? Yes. The media covered Amy Klobuchar. They covered Biden more than her, which was not fair. But she still came in third place when she put a lot of resources into Iowa. Then you go to New Hampshire, your neighboring state. You not again. You come in fourth place. New Hampshire is your demographic. New Hampshire happens to be an older state. It happens to be a more educated state by the demographics, meaning more people with college degrees. This is Elizabeth Warren's demographic. She came in 4th place, a very distant 4th place. So at that point, in 2 states that were favorable to you by the demographics, you come in a distant 3rd, a distant 4th. You decide to keep running. Now, you have a right to stay in the race. I'm not saying she doesn't have a right to stay in the race, but you then have to question, what are the motivations here? Because Bernie Sanders has consolidated the progressive vote. People have left her campaign, gone to Bernie. People have left her or gone to Pete, because a lot of her voters are Bernie supporters who have come home to Bernie, but a lot of her supporters have fled for Pete and Amy. So looking at the map, you're now moving to Nevada, which is a more diverse state. You don't have good numbers in polling among Latinos. Then you're moving to South Carolina. You don't have good numbers among black voters. Then you're moving to Super Tuesday, which is 14 states, very diverse. What is the calculus her campaign is making? Sure, there's a lot of candidates, so it's not over till it's over. But on the night of the New Hampshire primary, instead of saying congratulations to your quote-unquote ally, Bernie Sanders, for winning, you come out and you attack Bernie Sanders. And you don't even have the courage to attack him by name. You attack his supporters. You know, this is the new narrative they've been trying to use. Oh, those mean Bernie Sanders supporters, they're harassing people online. I mean, it's ridiculous. Grow up. This is the internet. It's a cesspool. It's just baked into the cake. Yeah, if there's Bernie people going over the line, sure, that's not a good thing. But that's not Bernie Sanders' responsibility. He's running for president to referee his supporters. And you know what? Maybe the media and Elizabeth Warren should be wondering, wow, why are these people so upset? Why are these people so angry? Why are these people so passionate? Why are they attacking corporate establishment Democrats online, on Twitter? Is it because they're working 3 jobs? Is it because they're rationing insulin? Is it because a lot of them are on the brink of homelessness? Are one blown paycheck away from losing their homes? Maybe evaluate, why are these people so passionate? Why are they so angry online? Instead of crying victim. You're a public official. It's a new age. If you are going to push neoliberal economics, neoliberal policies that harm the masses, then be prepared for attacks on Twitter. I'm not condoning anyone going over the line. I'm not condoning racism, misogyny, sexism, but that's not what I see. I see snake emojis because she acted like a snake. So does she want to stab her quote-unquote ally in the front, distort private conversations, and then have nobody say anything about it? Have no threat of attacks? Give me a break. Put on, if you're a man or a woman, put on your big boy pants or big girl pants. Take the heat if you are doing these kinds of things. Delphina, can't pronounce your last name, but love you. €5. One of Liz's surrogates previewed they are going to attack Bernie heavily. She's not dropping out. She's doubling down. Exactly. Her speech was attacking Bernie, not crediting him. And now she has surrogates going on shows like Crystal Ball's Rising saying, oh, we are the more effective candidate. And by the way, we just got 2 new members. Holy cow. Welcome, new member Jacob. Welcome, new member Andre. Holy cow. That makes 1,334 status Coup members. Just 16 members away. 16 members away from 1,350. I think we could do it. Keep on keeping on. Keep on signing up. 16 members away from 1,350. So, I don't know what Elizabeth Warren is thinking, honestly. She's not thinking about the end goal. She's not thinking of if she is legitimately about progressive change in America. if she's truly about taking it to Wall Street, get more regulation, less corruption in politics. Well, if you're about that, you would be, if you want to stay in the race, which again I don't think she should, you should be going against Buttigieg. You should be going against Klobuchar, Biden. Those are the candidates who, according to what you claim to be for, those are the candidates that you contrast the most with in terms of policy. So she's going after Bernie, thinking she's what? Going to pick off more of his voters to come back to her? That's done. If Elizabeth Warren still thinks there's a chance she's going to get Bernie Sanders voters, she's living in another world. Elizabeth Warren, the bottom line is this. Call me a sexist if you want. Call me a Bernie bro if you want. There's no path for Elizabeth Warren. At this point, she's staying in the race. Either her campaign, who, by the way, doesn't get talked about a lot, is littered with former Hillary Clinton campaign staffers and former Obama staffers. She's either made the calculus that I think a corporate person's going to win, whether it's Bloomberg, whether it's Biden, whether it's Pete, whatever. She made the wrong calculus in 2016. I think she's making the wrong one again. And I'm going to attack Bernie so that they'll remember me for vice president time. This is the only thing I can think of. But if Elizabeth Warren truly believes in progressive change, if she truly wants Medicare for all, which I don't think it's a priority to her, based on her flip-flopping and moonwalking, if she truly wants tighter regulation on Wall Street, if she truly wants an anti-corruption bill, then she should drop out and endorse Bernie Sanders. That doesn't mean she has to. I understand this is a democracy. She has the right to run as long as she wants. But at this point, there's no point to it other than to block Bernie Sanders. Period. Then we move on to Tulsi Gabbard. Listen, folks, I know some on the internet, some even in progressive media, get very, very upset when you dare criticize or question or don't blow smoke up Tulsi Gabbard's behind. Sorry, I'm just going to be consistent. I think Tulsi Gabbard, there's a lot of great things about Tulsi Gabbard. I love her message on foreign policy. I think there's questionable things about Tulsi Gabbard too, and I've made my point on the things that I have questions about with Tulsi Gabbard. I also think, bottom line, she was treated extremely unfairly by the media. She was either given no media coverage or she was basically painted as a Russian asset and Assad apologist. There was no serious question of Tulsi Gabbard. It was all framed as she's a traitor. So with that said, with that acknowledgement said, she did not get treated fairly. If she was to get treated fairly, I think she would have done a lot better in New Hampshire. I think if she were to be allowed in more of the debates, which they wouldn't change the rules for her, they did change it for Bloomberg. If she was given that benefit of the doubt, I think she would have done a lot better. But the bottom line is she did all her events in New Hampshire, almost all of them. All her resources were in New Hampshire, and she got 3%. Okay? So, yeah, it's not fair, but this is the reality. She is not going to do any better anywhere else. She's just not going to. So at this point, I can't get in her mind, for her, what is the purpose of staying in? It's not to win the presidency. So to me, if Tulsi Gabbard truly believes in the things she believes in, and I have a lot more confidence that she believes in what she's saying rather than Warren, then who is the candidate that is going to champion your policies? Maybe not as much as you would, because nobody does it like you, obviously, but who is going to be the closest thing to championing your policies? And how could you help that person, he or she, best to win the nomination? The answer is obvious. It's Bernie. So why wouldn't you drop out and tell your supporters to endorse him before two pivotal states? It doesn't make sense. I understand the people saying with the mentality of Jordan, leave her alone, she should stay in on principle, whatever. Listen, the planet is burning, okay? It was 65 degrees in Antarctica last week. Wildfires are everywhere. Donald Trump is literally sending out his attorney general to do his bidding. Change the degree of sentences, prison sentences for his allies. This is not the time for principle. This is the time to win. We need to win. So, if you want to stay in for your principles and to be able to do more town halls, and okay, that's great. But that 3% she got in New Hampshire, that 2% she has nationally, I'm not saying every single one of those people are going to go for Bernie, but there's a large number of them that would move to Bernie Sanders. And look at Iowa, look at New Hampshire, even 1% can make a big, big difference. So you got to have the same standard for everybody. You can't say, yeah, Warren should drop out, but Tulsi shouldn't drop out. By the numbers, Tulsi has way less of a chance than Warren does. So you guys have to be intellectually consistent, because I do see comments, no, Jordan, you're wrong. Well, do you want to have a message out there further? Or do you want her message and the policy she's championing to have a better chance of actually being enacted? Because her staying in does not give them a greater chance to be enacted. Her dropping out and supporting Bernie does. So if you want to attack me and say, Jordan, you're being sexist, you're being this, you're being that, fine. But I'm just talking about the cold, hard reality, whether you like it or not. And I like Tulsi Gabbard. I'd love to interview her again. Overall, I do like her. I think she's been treated unfairly, but, I mean, the numbers are the numbers. Whether you like them or not, whether you're a Tulsi supporter or not, it is what it is. David, man, I just subscribed during this stream. Unsubbing already. Bye-bye. Sorry, you don't like differing opinions. All right, so let me take a couple questions, comments, concerns before I go. We're 16 members away from the magic 1,350. Love it. Making our chances of getting to 1,500 by the Nevada caucus even greater. That's our goal, to get to 1,500 by Nevada. I think we're going to do it, judging on this pace. Keep it coming. statuscoup.com/join. Take a couple more questions. Harriet, she's in it with Bernie. I hope so. Tulsi people think they still have a chance. Okay, I mean, I don't want to be a jerk, but that's just not reality. Jimmy is going to be a proper pissed off. That's fine. If you want to be pissed. I'm just talking reality here. Jordan, your girlfriend is lovely. Thanks so much for not forgetting about and continuing to remember Standing Rock. That's when I became a fan of yours. Thank you for your support from Standing Rock to now. I couldn't appreciate it more. Liz isn't progressive anymore. You were wrong about Tulsi. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me, Harriet, why am I wrong? Is there a different election where she has a chance to win? I'm not trying to be condescending. I just don't know why I'm wrong. You can't have one standard for Warren, who, by the numbers, has a better chance, but because you like Tulsi, have a different standard. Be consistent or don't. I mean, it's just math. And you see what the Democratic Party is doing. You see the fuckery. So 1% or 2% additional towards Bernie could make the difference in Nevada and elsewhere. DNC, a bunch of mafiosos. Did Jimmy ever call you back yet? Nope, still waiting. Still love Jimmy, but haven't been hearing from him lately. It's a shame. As someone with a lot on the ground experience, do you think we should be demonstrating in Nevada? I think we should be demonstrating everywhere. I mean, you look at the coverage. I mean, this propaganda from the media it's like I've never seen before. The media, MSNBC, NBC, CNN, it's a giant super PAC for the corporate Democratic establishment. Should you be demonstrating in Nevada? I don't know. Maybe. Peace, power. I love Tulsi Gabbard and her bringing foreign policy to center stage, but I don't feel like it's her time. I'll be happy to see her continued work in Congress and hopefully higher office in Bernie White House. Yes and no. She is not running for re-election in Congress, so that's her choice. She's not running for re-election in Congress, so maybe she'll run for something else. Warren is not more progressive than Tulsi. I didn't say she is. I didn't say Warren's more progressive than Tulsi. I said Warren has a greater chance by the numbers of winning than Tulsi does. That's just the facts. That's data. Warren is far ahead of Tulsi in most polls. I don't think Warren... At this point, I question what Warren really is. I truly do. Jimmy on Fox, thoughts on it? Jimmy, whatever. I wouldn't go on certain shows, but Jimmy could go on whatever he wants, big boy. Become part of the community. I agree. The clown got Russiagate right when many others didn't. That clown. Who's the clown? Talking about Jimmy? Jimmy's an ally. I don't know why everyone's talking about Jimmy. I love Jimmy. Tulsi could take out Bloomberg in the debate. She's going there with a hammer. She could still help us. She's not in any of the debates. That's the problem. She's not qualifying for these debates. So the DNC is not letting her in. So that's the problem. I would agree if she was eligible for the debates. Absolutely. I don't think anyone could say Warren is more progressive than Tulsi or vice versa. I didn't say that. I don't know why people are saying I said that. Warren is whatever they tell her to be. Is Tulsi delusional? Hashtag stand with Tulsi. Guys that don't trust the DNC. I donate to Tulsi and I hope she endorses Bernie. I trust Warren. Native Americans don't lie. Oh, burn. All right, folks. I love you. I love you. I love you. But I got to eat. I got to go to the bathroom and got to rest up a little bit more. If the funding comes through, I'm looking, Status Coup is looking, for a long couple of weeks. We will be, if our funding comes through that we're trying to get, you're talking us being on the road for at least 2 weeks. Cross country 2 times. So if our funding comes through, we're going to Nevada this week, then South Carolina, if the funding is there, and then California through Super Tuesday. So that's 2 weeks on the road. Happy to do it. It is a grind, but we are grinding for justice. So if any of you haven't signed up, consider signing up. Statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. Makes a huge, huge difference. And this is how we're going to be able to cover the rest of the campaign. We want to expand that map. We want to be able to cover a lot of different states, both now but later in the contest. And of course, we definitely want to be set up for the general election, particularly if Bernie is the nominee. So thank you for your support. Remember, if you haven't yet, sign up for our email list at statuscoup.com. Statuscoup.com, enter your email. If you already signed up for our email list, go to your email. Make sure we are not going to your spam. We are going to a lot of people's spam. And lastly, you can also join our text list by texting Coup, C-O-U-P, to 474747. Again, text Coup, C-O-U-P, to 474747. That will get you on our text list. Another great way for you to get immediate notifications rather than depending on YouTube, which maybe at this point will notify you 20% of the time when we are live. Thank you for watching. I will not be live tomorrow, spending the evening with my niece and nephew. We'll be live Tuesday before we head to Nevada. But Jen will be doing videos tomorrow for us. Thank you for watching. Peace out.